Chapter 820. The potency of the all-aspect nourishment soup was even more terrifying than the supreme elixir. Even a primordial expert would benefit from it. The most important thing was not the powerful beast meat, but the 100,000-year-old blood Lingji. Although the primordial spirit of the Lingji clan leader was shattered, the potency of his potency was completely preserved. He was able to cultivate to the level of a titled primordial. Although he was limited by his talent and was only a quasi-divine elixir, the potency of his potency was not inferior to a divine elixir. It was equivalent to everyone consuming a divine elixir. Long Outyin scooped a bowl of the all-aspect nourishment soup and gulped it down impatiently. Awesome! Long Outyin's big eyes were sparkling with joy. He even revealed 2 small canine teeth and looked very childish. However, he could not smile after that. Boom! A majestic energy exploded within Long Outyin's body. Suddenly, his entire body was covered in a multicolored light. It was as if he was burning with flames. This all-aspect nourishment soup is too powerful. Long Outyin opened his mouth and spat out a red mist. This was the essence of a quasi-divine elixir. Long Outyin was so frightened that he immediately shut his mouth and jumped up and down to suppress the potency of his potency. Everyone laughed when they saw Long Outyin's comical appearance. However, with Long Outyin as an example, everyone drank the all-aspect nourishment soup in small mouthfuls. Then, they circulated their cultivation and began to refine it. The power of a quasi-divine elixir could not only increase one's life force but also save them decades of cultivation. In the end, more than half of the all-aspect nourishment soup entered Ling Xiao and the old goat's stomach. The others only drank 1 or 2 bowls. The potency of the soup was so strong that everyone could not bear it. Ling Xiao had already reached the tribulation of 3 symbols, formed the 3 flowers above his head, and swallowed so much of the all-aspect nourishment soup. His internal organs and meridians had all become transparent, and his entire body had become one. It wouldn't be long before he would be able to pass the tribulation of 4 symbols. Everyone drank and chatted as they recounted what had happened in the time cave. Ling Xiao's current combat strength shocked everyone. This was already comparable to the power of Dugu Qiubai, the sword demon of ancient times. A 9 extremities genius could be said to be a peerless genius that only appeared once in a million years. Everyone felt that it was unreal. Ling Xiao, there's something I think you should know. After half a round of wine, Daoist Wuliang secretly transmitted his voice to Ling Xiao. Oh. What is it? Ling Xiao was also a little confused. Daoist Wuliang had a rare serious expression on his face. Furthermore, he had told Ling Xiao behind everyone's back. It could be seen that the matter was not simple. I think you should make a trip to the spirit tribe and see the spiritual sovereign statue. Daoist Wuliang said. The statue of a spiritual venerable. Is there anything special? Ling Xiao asked. That's right, it's very special to you. In short, you should go and take a look. Daoist Wuliang wanted to say something but hesitated. Then, he sighed and said. All right. Ling Xiao's eyes glowed as he nodded his head. Ling Xiao asked the old goat to bring everyone back to the demon city. He and Daoist Wuliang broke through the void and headed towards the spirit tribe. The spirit tribe was in an ancient forest. It was a huge city built from heavenly wood. It was surrounded by towering ancient trees, ancient vines, and precious herbs. It was brimming with a natural aura. Ling Xiao and the old goat could see a few innocent children playing outside the spirit tribe. They looked very happy. Not knowing why, after arriving here, Ling Xiao suddenly had a very familiar feeling. The statue is in the spirit tribe. It's right there. You should be able to see it from here. Daoist Wuliang pointed to the center of the spirit tribe and sighed softly. Although they were thousands of miles away from the spirit tribe, with Ling Xiao's powerful senses, he could naturally see the spiritual sovereign statue in the center of the spirit tribe. The moment Ling Xiao saw the spiritual sovereign statue, his body suddenly trembled violently. His eyes were filled with disbelief. In the center of the spirit tribe, the huge spiritual sovereign statue was a woman in a red dress. She looked beautiful and peerless, like a goddess from the 9 heavens. Her entire body exuded an extraordinary aura. She held an ancient sword in her hand and pointed it into the distance. Sword chi gathered around her, growing and multiplying endlessly. Her eyes were deep and bright as she looked into the distance. The appearance of the spiritual sovereign was exactly the same as the Jin Sei in Ling Zhao's memory. Could it be that Jin Sei was the reincarnation of the spiritual sovereign? Or was she just like the moon goddess? Was Jin Sei just a trace of the spiritual sovereign's consciousness and would eventually return to the original body and be completely annihilated? At the thought of this, a huge fear descended, causing Ling Xiao to tremble uncontrollably. Impossible! Impossible! How could Jin Sei be a spiritual sovereign? Definitely not. It's just that their appearances are too similar. But they are definitely not the same person. Ling Xiao muttered to himself, trying his best to convince himself. Ling Xiao, I also hope that Jin Sei isn't a spiritual sovereign, but this is too much of a coincidence. I also saw the spiritual sovereign statue by chance, but the spiritual sovereign's aura is too similar to Jin Sei's. No matter what, I feel that I should tell you this. Taoist Wuliang sighed softly and looked at Ling Xiao as he spoke. He knew Ling Zhao's feelings for Jin Sei and naturally understood Ling Zhao's fear and unease. When Ling Xiao found out that the moon goddess could be a trace of the moon goddess consciousness, he felt pity for her and wanted to help the moon goddess escape this fate. However, at this moment, seeing the spiritual sovereign statue that looked exactly like Jin Sei, Ling Zhao's heart was filled with immense fear. It was the fear of losing the person he loved and he wanted to hold on to her tightly. No matter what, Jin Sei is Jin Sei. Even a spiritual sovereign can't take away my Jin Sei. I'll kill anyone who dares to take away Jin Sei. If gods block my path, I'll kill gods and demons. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed with a peerless sharpness. He clenched his fists so tightly that his fingernails dug into his palms without him noticing. Ling Xiao suddenly remembered that he had discovered Jin Sei's whereabouts in the Origin Sea. He was certain that Jin Sei was in the Origin Sea. However, was that Jin Sei still the Jin Sei in his memories? At the thought of this, a huge sense of fear enveloped his entire being. I remember Yu Chongshan saying that the Flowing Time Temple is the place where the Scarlet Dragon War God looks for his successor. As long as I become the successor of the Scarlet Dragon War God, I'll be able to find a way to save the Moon Goddess and preserve her original consciousness. In this Heaven's Choice Convention, I must walk to the end. I'll kill anyone who dares to stop me. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed with a blazing murderous intent. He had originally planned to hide his strength and look for the War God Temple's conspiracy during the Heaven's Choice Convention. However, he couldn't care less now. He must walk to the end, become the Heaven's Chosen One, and obtain the Scarlet Dragon War God's inheritance. He must break through as soon as possible and go to the Origin Sea to save Jin Sei. I believe in you. I also believe in Jin Sei. She'll definitely be able to hold on until you find her. Taoist Wuliang sighed softly and patted Ling Zhao's shoulder. In the end, Ling Xiao and Taoist Wuliang quietly left and didn't enter Spirit City. The Heaven's Choice Convention was about to begin. Chapter 821. Ling Xiao and Taoist Wuliang returned to Demon City. In Demon City, Ling Xiao met Yu Chongshan and Maha. It turned out that Lingji had joined the War God Temple. The old goat had already sent people to inform the two tribes, so Yu Chongshan and Maha were alarmed. However, they all fell silent when they saw Divine General Lingji's token among Lingji's personal treasures. I didn't expect Lingji to join the War God Temple. Doesn't she know that the War God Temple is just a group of shameless thieves? How can she face Lord Spirit Sovereign and Lord War God? Yu Chongshan seemed to have aged a few years as he sighed softly. He usually had the best relationship with Lingji and always took care of her like a sister. But he didn't expect Lingji to be the War God Temple's Divine General Lingji. She didn't even hesitate to set up a trap to kill Ling Xiao. The first Holy Sun and Nan Tianfang had already confessed that the two of them had joined the War God Temple's successor. They besieged Long Zhantian and the other two in hopes of luring Ling Xiao out. In the end, they went for wool and came home shorn, becoming prisoners instead. Ba, there's nothing we can do about it. After all, millions of years have passed. Anything can happen. I didn't expect the War God Temple's tentacles to extend to our 4 tribes. It looks like we'll really have to meet the War God Temple in this Heaven's Choice convention. Maha's eyes also revealed a trace of light. He looked like an ascetic monk with a buzz cut, gray robes, and a solemn face. His entire body exuded a devout Buddhist nature. Compared to Maha, the monks of Ming Wang Temple were more like external demons, while Maha was the true senior monk. That's right. I have a premonition that the War God's successor might really appear in this Heaven's Choice convention. We have to be careful. If not for the Flowing Time Temple, the War God Temple would have already killed their way into the Flowing Time Cave. Yu Chongshan slowly said. In the end, Yu Chongshan and Maha both decided to lead the powerhouses of the 3 tribes to the Flowing Time Temple. The 3 monster venerables of the monster tribe all set out, and the army marched towards the Flowing Time Temple. In order not to alert the enemy, Ling Xiao and the old mountain goat decided to wait outside the Flowing Time Temple and act according to the situation. Ling Xiao, the old goat, and the others entered the Flowing Time Temple to participate in the heavenly selection meeting. Crack! Under the lead of the 5 titled Supremes, Ling Xiao and the others were brought to the Flowing Time Shrine. 3 days later, the group crossed several million kilometers and arrived at the Flowing Time Temple. Only Ling Xiao, the old goat, and the others walked towards the Flowing Time Temple. The Flowing Time Divine Temple was located on a vast expanse of land. It was a huge bronze temple that was filled with chaotic mist. Dazzling divine light filled the air, and it gave off an ancient and boundless aura. The Flowing Time Divine Temple looked like an immemorial divine mountain, gigantic and majestic. It lay dormant on the ground, emitting an aura that made people tremble in fear. Is that the Flowing Time Temple? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He had seen this ancient bronze temple more than once. In the 8 Desolates region, in the primitive ancient mine, Ling Xiao had seen similar bronze temples. These bronze temples seemed to contain countless secrets from the ancient times, waiting for people to come and explore them. Yes, this is the Flowing Time Temple. It contains the inheritance of the Scarlet Dragon War God. But what I didn't expect is that the guardian of the Flowing Time Temple, the Time General, should be on the side of the 4 great tribes. Why did he side with the War God Temple? Why would he help the War God Temple to hold the heavenly selection meeting every 1,000 years? The old goat looked at the Flowing Time Temple and said doubtfully. I'm afraid only the Time General knows about this. Ling Xiao said slowly. He remembered that the Time General had killed the Impermanence General and Shura General. He felt that the Time General and the War God Temple were definitely not on the same side. But why would they side with him? Why would the War God Temple trust him so much? Ling Xiao couldn't guess the secret behind it. The group slowly walked towards the Flowing Time Temple. When Ling Xiao and the others arrived at the Flowing Time Temple, the successor of the War God Temple suddenly opened his eyes in a mysterious mountain range. His gaze revealed a sharp glint. What a piece of trash. Divine General Lingji can't even deal with Ling Xiao. It seems that the other 3 tribes are behind this. Could it be that the other 3 tribes really found out about Divine General Lingji's identity? The successor of the War God Temple exuded an incomparably terrifying aura. Chaotic light shot out from his eyes, mysterious and majestic. It seems that the situation has changed. Since the other 3 tribes aren't obedient, there's no need for them to exist. In this heavenly selection meeting, I will definitely walk to the end and become the true successor of the Scarlet Dragon War God. The successor of the War God Temple muttered to himself. He flicked his finger and a ray of light broke through the void and flew into an unknown space. He slowly stood up. A terrifying aura spread out from his body, causing the world around him to tremble violently. Kacha! The void in front of him instantly broke open. The successor of the war god temple stepped into it and disappeared from the mountain range. In an ancient cave, a spirit spring gushed out and bright flowers bloomed. The surrounding glass emitted a gorgeous light. In the center of the cave, a young man in purple robes suddenly opened his eyes. Two rays of purple light pierced through the void, majestic and mysterious. My purple firmament infinite heavenly sovereign sutra has finally reached perfection. Azure Emperor, this time I will definitely kill you. The young man in purple robes stood out. He was the eldest disciple of the Kunlun mountain, Duan Wuji. He took a step forward and instantly disappeared from the cave. In the depths of the flowing time cave, in an ancient palace. The palace emitted a resplendent scarlet light. Blazing flames rose around it. It was as if it was the residence of the sun god, mysterious and ancient. Zhao Ritian stood up from the throne in the palace. His golden robes flowed with a resplendent luster. His black hair fluttered in the wind. His eyes were like lightning. His tall and handsome figure looked extremely perfect. However, his face was filled with pride and arrogance. Second Master, my Sun Destroyer Sutra has finally reached perfection. Together with my Sun God's sword, I can even kill a 6th-level Supreme Stage powerhouse with a single slash. Now I can finally fight with Ling Xiao, right? Zhao Ritian's eyes revealed a hint of eagerness. Chapter 822. That's good. Second uncle, can I really get the Scarlet Dragon War God's inheritance this time? Didn't you say that the Scarlet Dragon War God's wordless heavenly book is in Ling Xiao's hands? That kid is really lucky. Zhao Ritian's eyes were filled with jealousy at the mention of Ling Xiao. Second uncle smiled faintly and said, don't worry, even with the wordless heavenly book, you won't necessarily get the Scarlet Dragon War God's inheritance. I'm very familiar with the Scarlet Dragon War God, so the inheritance will definitely be yours. Good. Ha ha ha. Second uncle, when I, Zhao Ritian, obtain the inheritance of the Scarlet Dragon War God, I will go and flip over the bullshit War God shrine. Those shameless bastards, I, Zhao Ritian, am the only inheritor of the Scarlet Dragon War God. Zhao Ritian laughed out loud as he mounted the void golden-eyed beast and left the palace. On a cliff where the sea of clouds was churning. The sea of clouds filled the surroundings, and the scenery was extremely beautiful. Streams of mist filled the air, surrounding a white-clothed young man, and all kinds of strange scenes appeared. The young man in white suddenly opened his eyes, and suddenly, an unparalleled sharp sword essence rushed into the sky, shattering the surrounding sea of clouds. The surrounding vegetation, rocks, flowers, birds, insects, and fish seemed to be stained with the sword essence, moving forward with an unparalleled sharpness. Is the Chosen One finally about to begin? The successor of the War God Temple, Buddha Kasyapa, Emperor Qing, and Ling Xiao. This time, I will defeat all of you. The young man in white stood up, and his eyes were like two peerless swords. He was Jian Wushuang, who had comprehended the Tao here for a year and finally began to emit a peerless sharpness. Rumble. Throughout the entire time cave, powerful geniuses opened their eyes and looked at the distant time temple. Everyone set off, turning into rays of divine light, and shot towards the time temple. In the time cave, many people had obtained supreme opportunities, and each of them was in high spirits, wanting to take the lead in the Chosen One, and strive to become a supreme master in one go. The huge time temple was like an Archean ferocious beast, entrenched on the ground. In front of the time temple was a white jade square, filled with chaotic mist and bright light, like a fairyland. The gate of the flowing time temple was still closed, it wasn't time to open yet. When Ling Xiao, the old goat, and the others arrived at the white jade square, they realized that many geniuses had already arrived. Many people looked at Ling Xiao with awe and respect in their eyes. The news that the Ziwei Starchild and the heaven-scorching demon emperor had died at Ling Xiao's hands had already spread. Many people even guessed that Ling Xiao had the combat strength to be ranked in the top 5 of the Ascension rankings. Therefore, his arrival caused quite a commotion. Many people consciously dispersed and watched as Ling Xiao walked into the white jade square. Big Brother Ling. At this moment, a pleasantly surprised voice sounded. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he saw 3 figures running over from afar. 2 of them were burly men who looked very simple and honest. The last one was a proud young man in white robes who held a silver spear in his hand. They were actually Xiong Xiaohe, Hu Zi, and Ma Junjie. Ling Xiao didn't expect that the 3 of them would also come to the time cave. Furthermore, by the looks of it, the 3 of them had obtained quite a bit of benefits as well. To think that they had all broken through to half utmost exalted. Xiong Xiaohe, Hu Zi, Ma Junjie, why are you 3 here so early? Do you know when the time shrine will open? Ling Xiao glanced at the 3 of them and asked. Hee, Big Brother Ling, after we entered the time cave, we have been training along the way. Although we encountered quite a bit of danger, we still managed to arrive here safely. We arrived a month ago. At that time, the Time Divine General appeared once. It seems that the Time Shrine will open in a day or 2. At that time, the Heavenly God Assembly will officially begin. Xiong Xiaohe said as he looked at Ling Xiao with admiration. Big Brother Ling, you're really amazing. We heard that the Ziwei Starchild and the Heaven-Scorching Demon Emperor died at your hands. Is that true? Hu Zi asked in a muffled voice. Ha ha ha. Of course it's true. Let me tell you, the Ziwei Starchild has already been killed by my cousin. As for the Heaven-Scorching Demon Emperor, he has already willingly become my cousin's mount. That's a fire qilin, it's too impressive. I'll show you later. Long Outyen jumped out and said with a smug smile. Previously, Ling Xiao had already shown him the Heaven-Scorching Demon Emperor who had turned into a fire qilin. He also told Long Outyen that after he tamed the fire qilin, he would become Long Outyen's mount. Therefore, Long Outyen was very excited and smug. A pure-blooded divine beast fire qilin as a mount. That was a treatment that only the ancient heavenly emperors had. What? The Heaven-Scorching Demon Emperor has become Big Brother Ling's mount? That's too amazing. Big Brother Ling, I admire you so much. You will definitely be the chosen one in this Heavenly Choice Assembly. I think that even the successor of the War God Temple and Buddha Kasayapa will not be Big Brother Ling's match. Ma Junjie also said with a look of admiration and excitement. What's there to be proud of? The Ziwei Starchild is just a person with an undeserved reputation. The Heaven-Scorching Demon Emperor is a piece of trash that fell from the Azure Sky ranking. How can they compare to my eldest senior brother? With Ling Xiao's strength, I'm afraid that he won't even last 3 moves against my eldest senior brother. Suddenly, an ear-piercing voice rang out. Who? Xiong Xiaohe, Hu Zi, and Ma Junjie were furious. When they turned around, they were stunned. Kunlun Mountain's Duan Wuji was slowly walking towards Ling Xiao under the protection of a group of disciples wearing purple robes and carrying long swords on their backs. Duan Wuji was wearing a purple robe. He was tall and slender, and his black hair was draped over his shoulders. His face was incomparably handsome, and he held the Draining Spring Divine Spear in his hand. His entire body exuded an incomparably powerful aura. There was a faint smile at the corner of his mouth. Although he looked very gentle, there was a kind of arrogance in his bones. I was wondering who was spouting nonsense here. So it's Duan Wuji who was beaten to a pulp by Emperor Qing? Emperor Qing and my cousin are good friends. They both said that my cousin's strength is not inferior to his. You can't even beat Emperor Qing. What right do you have to be arrogant here? Long Outyen looked at Duan Wuji and sneered. Little brat, do you want to die? Eldest senior brother doesn't want to lower himself to your level, but do you believe that I won't kill you? The half-step Supreme Kunlun Mountain disciple beside Duan Wuji walked out and pointed at Long Outyen coldly. Want to die? Ha ha ha, are you talking about me? Why don't the 2 of us exchange pointers? As long as you can withstand one of my punches, I'll do whatever you want me to do. How about it? Chapter 823. Long Zhantian and the others looked at Ling Xiao strangely. This guy dared to look down on Long Outyen? After all, Long Outyen was a monster who could fight against a 6th-layer Supreme Realm expert. Was this guy tired of living? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He didn't seem to have offended Duan Wuji, so why was Duan Wuji so hostile towards him? But when he saw the way Duan Wuji looked at the moon goddess, he immediately understood. Duan Wuji looked at the moon goddess with eyes full of adoration. He walked in front of the moon goddess as if no one else was around and smiled. Miss Moon Goddess, we meet again. The Chosen One conference will be filled with danger. Miss Moon Goddess, please come with me. I will protect you. Don't mix with random people. That's beneath your dignity, bastard with the surname Duan. Who's the messy person here? Tell me clearly. You look like a dog, but why are you so blind? Long Outyen stood between Duan Wuji and the moon goddess, giving Duan Wuji a sidelong glance. Being scolded by a brat over and over again, even Duan Wuji couldn't maintain his composure. He said coldly, which family's little bastard doesn't know the rules? If the Lord isn't here, I don't mind disciplining him for you. Bastard, who are you scolding? The 3 words, little bastard, were enough to scold the entire dragon clan. Long Zhantian's eyes flashed with anger. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He looked at Duan Wuji and said, try scolding me again. The old goat looked at Duan Wuji with schadenfreude. He knew that Duan Wuji was going to suffer. The calmer Ling Xiao was, the angrier he was. I called him a little bastard. What can you do about it? Duan Wuji looked at Ling Xiao provocatively and said indifferently. Boom! A terrifying aura exploded from Ling Xiao's body. He instantly struck out with his palm. A powerful dragon's aura filled the air as his palm flew towards Duan Wuji's face. You dare! Duan Wuji's eyes turned cold. He hadn't thought that Ling Xiao would attack him directly. Suddenly, the divine spring spear in his hand emitted a terrifying aura as it pierced towards Ling Xiao's hand. The draining spring divine spear was a famous supreme weapon of the Kunlun Mountains. Its power was unparalleled. If Ling Xiao was so careless, Duan Wuji had no doubt that the draining spring divine spear would pierce through Ling Xiao's palm. Boom! Ling Xiao didn't even try to dodge. He directly slapped the divine spear, and an incomparably terrifying power erupted. The divine spear shone with resplendent light as runes exploded. Duan Wuji felt his arm go numb, and the divine spear almost flew out of his hand. In the next moment, a clear voice sounded. Pa! Ling Xiao slapped Duan Wuji in the face and sent him flying. Half of his face was swollen. Ling Xiao hadn't used his full strength in that strike. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been as simple as half of Duan Wuji's face being swollen. Half of Duan Wuji's head would have been blown off by Ling Xiao. Besides, Ling Xiao's hand contained some godly strength which condensed on Duan Wuji's face. Duan Wuji's face was swollen and couldn't recover. Everyone was dumbfounded. The scene was dead silent. Everyone's eyes were filled with disbelief. Ling Xiao had sent Duan Wuji flying with a single slap. Duan Wuji was a peerless powerhouse who ranked 5th on the master list. Even Emperor Qing had only defeated Duan Wuji after a few dozen moves. When did Ling Xiao's battle strength become so terrifying? Ha ha ha. Well done. Cousin, beat this son of a bitch to death. How dare he show off in front of me, Long Outyen. Why don't you take a piss and take a look at yourself? Long Outyen laughed loudly. His laughter was extremely ear-piercing, and it made Duan Wuji's face turn red. His eyes were filled with resentment. That's right. You don't have the strength, yet you still dare to act arrogantly. Sooner or later, you'll be beaten to death. Hurry up and get lost. How dare you try to curry favor with the moon goddess with your measly cultivation? You really don't know the difference between life and death. The old goat sneered and said. Ling Xiao, I'm going to kill you. Duan Wuji's lungs were about to explode from anger. His eyes were filled with blazing killing intent. He roared and charged at Ling Xiao. Get lost! Ling Xiao's brows furrowed, and he threw out another palm. Roar! The roar of a dragon shook the heavens. Ling Xiao's slap looked light, but it contained the power of the 10,000 dragons god-slaying technique. It was terrifying beyond compare. It was as if 49 true dragons were flying through the sky, exuding an incomparably vast power. Duan Wuji's body was surrounded by a purple aura. The draining spring godly spear in his hand seemed to transform into a purple river that wanted to pierce through Ling Xiao's body. Bang! Ling Xiao's slap landed on the draining spring godly spear, and then on Duan Wuji's chest. Duan Wuji's chest caved in, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Slap! Ling Xiao took advantage of the opportunity to slap Duan Wuji, and the other half of his face immediately swelled up. The originally handsome and confident Duan Wuji now looked like a pig's head. His hair was disheveled, and he looked incomparably miserable. Only now did Duan Wuji suddenly come to his senses, and a trace of fear appeared in his eyes. Ling Xiao had been able to slap him twice so easily. It wasn't a fluke, but because Ling Xiao was much stronger than him. Duan Wuji? At this moment, an indifferent and faintly discernible voice sounded. Duan Wuji raised his head and saw that the person in the sky was Emperor Qing. Emperor Qing was dressed in a green robe. He was tall and slender, and his entire body was filled with chaotic aura. His whole body exuded a divine aura, as if he were an ancient celestial emperor. Anyone who looked at him would feel ashamed of their inferiority. Previously, Duan Wuji had wanted to find Emperor Qing for revenge. However, before he could meet Emperor Qing, he had been slapped twice by Ling Xiao. He had lost face in front of everyone. This was simply a disgrace. Whoosh! 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 In the distance, a long rainbow streaked across the sky. It wasn't just Emperor Qing. More and more genius experts had arrived. Duge Shui, Jian Wushuang, Zhao Ritian, Leng Yuyu, Qing Yun, Zhu Biao. They had all arrived at the Flowing Time Temple. When they saw Duan Wuji's miserable appearance, a trace of surprise appeared in their eyes. Rumble. In the void, the successor of the War God Temple was clad in golden armor. His entire body was shimmering with light, and a group of genius experts followed him. Even Murong Xiantian of the Black Sky sect was by his side. He looked like a lackey. Your Highness, I'm willing to follow you. Please help me kill Ling Xiao. I want him to die. I want him to die without a burial place. Duan Wuji said through gritted teeth. In an instant, he arrived in front of the successor of the War God Temple and bowed deeply. His eyes were filled with hatred as he looked at Ling Xiao. Chapter 824. Everyone was stunned. Duan Wuji actually knelt in front of the successor of the War God Temple? No matter what, Duan Wuji was a peerless prodigy ranked 5th on the Azure Cloud leaderboard. Was he not afraid of embarrassing Kunlun Mountain? Although the crowd did not say anything, their eyes revealed a trace of disdain. Wuji, get up first. I will seek justice for you. The successor of the War God Temple smiled faintly and raised his hand, helping Duan Wuji up. Thank you, Divine Son. They just said that the people on the Azure Cloud leaderboard were all trash. Even you, Divine Son, are no match for Ling Xiao. Duan Wuji sneered. His intentions were extremely sinister. He was basically putting Ling Xiao on the opposite side of all the prodigies on the Azure Cloud leaderboard. Arrogant. Too arrogant. I can already kill trash like the Ziwei Star Child and the Sky-Burning Demon Emperor, let alone the Divine Son. It seems that some people really don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. They really need to be taught a lesson. Murong Xiantian sneered beside the successor of the War God Temple. The successor of the War God Temple had an indifferent expression as he slowly walked towards Ling Xiao. There was a trace of coldness in his eyes. Everyone was stunned. Was the successor of the War God Temple looking for trouble with Ling Xiao? All of a sudden, 3 prodigies were targeting Ling Xiao. Could Ling Xiao handle it? Especially the successor of the War God Temple. He was known as the #1 prodigy of the War God continent and possessed the legendary chaotic sacred body. His battle prowess was unparalleled, and he was ranked first on the Azure Cloud leaderboard. Even if Ling Xiao's battle prowess was already monstrous, no one believed that he could defeat the successor of the War God Temple. After all, the successor of the War God Temple's strength was already deeply ingrained in everyone's hearts. Some people even said that if it weren't for the Heavenly Chosen Convention, the successor of the War God Temple would have already become a paragon. Ling Xiao, you are very arrogant. But you should know that arrogant people don't live long. Hand over that stone tablet. The successor of the War God Temple glanced indifferently at Ling Xiao and said slowly. In the Demon Saint Palace, he and Buddhist Kasyapa had fought for the Heavenly Tao Primal Chaos Tablet. In the end, Ling Xiao had snatched it first, which made him feel embarrassed. Whether I am arrogant or not, I don't need you to worry. As for the stone tablet you mentioned, I haven't seen it either. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, a sharp glint in his eyes. The disciple of the War God Hall said, Ling Xiao, I advise you to hand over that stone tablet. That stone tablet isn't something that you can possess. Be careful that you don't bring disaster upon yourself. Ling Xiao glanced at the successor of the War God Hall and said, That's strange. I've never seen a stone tablet. Are you mistaken? The Heaven Tao Primal Chaos Tablet was extremely important. Even if the successor of the War God Hall thought that the tablet had been snatched away by Ling Xiao refused to admit it. Ling Xiao, are you still pretending? Have you forgotten the stone tablet you snatched from me and Kasyapa in the Demon Saint Palace? As long as you are willing to hand over the stone tablet, it doesn't matter if it's a paragon artifact, a paragon pill, or even a sacred medicine. The War God Hall's successor's gaze turned cold as he spoke indifferently. I really haven't seen any stone tablets. Please go back. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Whoosh! 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 At this moment, a few more powerful presences appeared in the distance. It was Buddhist Kasyapa in his white monk robes and straw sandals. He had arrived with a few disciples of the Thunderclap Temple. Kasyapa, that stone tablet is with Ling Xiao. Why don't we attack together, capture Ling Xiao, and snatch the stone tablet? We can study the scriptures on the stone tablet together. The successor of the War God Hall glanced at Kasyapa and spoke slowly. Stone tablet? What stone tablet? Your Highness, I've never heard of any stone tablet. Kasyapa smiled faintly as he glanced at the successor of the War God Hall and Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao was slightly taken aback. Kasyapa had been so concerned about the Heaven Tao Primal Chaos Tablet previously. Why did he not seem to care about it now? Kasyapa, since you don't want it, I'll take it myself. Don't regret it when the time comes. The successor of the War God Hall revealed a cold glint in his eyes. Your Highness, please do as you wish. Kasyapa smiled faintly. Ling Xiao, are you going to hand it over yourself or wait for me to capture you? The successor of the War God Hall glanced at Ling Xiao expressionlessly as a vast and terrifying aura emanated from his body. Boom! Primal chaos filled the air as the successor of the War God Hall was surrounded by rays of light. His entire body glowed as if he was a god of war bathed in divine light. He emitted an aura that caused everyone's heart to palpitate. Everyone shuddered. Was the successor of the War God Hall going to attack Ling Xiao? Take a guess, if the successor of the War God Hall and Ling Xiao were to fight, who would win? Someone whispered softly. Is there even a need to ask? The successor of the War God Hall will definitely win. Ling Xiao is only a half-step supreme being with the tribulation of 3 symbols. His cultivation is 1 level lower. Moreover, the successor of the War God Hall has the chaotic sacred physique, a terrifying existence that can take on supreme weapons with his bare hands. Ling Xiao will lose without a doubt. That's right. I suspect that Ling Xiao might not even be a match for Kasyapa. At most, He's on par with the Azure Emperor. Everyone said in a low voice, their eyes revealing incomparable excitement. To be able to personally witness the successor of the War God Hall in action was a supreme opportunity. They couldn't help but be excited. Brother Ling, do you need help? The Azure Emperor, who was sitting cross-legged in the void, suddenly opened his eyes and asked indifferently. Thank you, Brother Azure Emperor. No need. I really want to see if the successor of the War God Hall is as powerful as the legends say. Ling Xiao smiled faintly as a powerful battle intent appeared in his eyes. The successor of the War God Hall before him was indeed very powerful. Even Ling Xiao could feel a powerful sense of danger. Ling Xiao really wanted to fight the successor of the War God Hall. Boom! Ling Xiao's body was surrounded by divine light as a powerful dragon's might spread. He stared at the successor of the War God Hall with a calm and indifferent gaze, but a peerless sharpness erupted from it. With Ling Xiao and the successor of the War God Hall as the center, the area within a radius of 3,000 meters seemed to have turned into an extremely terrifying domain. It caused the void to tremble and distort. Everyone in the surroundings felt a little oppressive, as if they couldn't breathe. They looked at Ling Xiao and the successor of the War God Hall in horror. Just the aura that they emitted was so terrifying. Just how powerful were these two people? Cousin, kill this bastard. He's too arrogant. What's there to be proud of? Long Outyen looked at the successor of the War God Hall with displeasure. Chapter 825. Do you want to die? Duan Wuji and Murong Xiantian looked at Long Outyen and the old goat coldly. Especially Duan Wuji, his eyes were filled with killing intent. He couldn't defeat Ling Xiao, so killing a few people around Ling Xiao to vent his anger wasn't a bad idea. Oh, Duan Wuji, you've grown up, huh? Do you want me to spar with you? I guarantee that I'll beat you until your mother can't recognize you. Long Outyen's eyes revealed a hint of eagerness as he spoke with a hint of malice in his voice. Little brat, do you think I'm afraid of you? Since you want to die so much, I'll grant you your wish. Then I'll help you. Duan Wuji's eyes flashed with cold killing intent. At this moment, he didn't care whether he was bullying the weak or not. Long Outyen's words had made him explode with anger. He wanted to vent his anger by killing this hateful brat. Just as everyone was about to draw their swords and break out into a huge battle, the void suddenly trembled. Kacha! Above the flowing time temple, the wind and clouds surged. Chaotic mist filled the air and the void seemed to break open. Endless chaotic chi fell from the ninth heaven. Roar! Chirp! A dragon's roar and a phoenix's cry exploded between heaven and earth. Above the 9 heavens, a huge black bone dragon and a huge bone phoenix soared through the sky, exuding an ancient and boundless aura. It was as if they had come from an indescribable space-time, causing people to involuntarily tremble with a single glance. The bone dragon and bone phoenix were pulling a huge bronze coffin. Huge chains clanged and were engraved with many mysterious runes and ancient characters. Around them, there was a group of Yin soldiers wearing armor and carrying ancient weapons. They slowly descended from the 9th heaven with orderly steps. Their target was the flowing time temple. The Yin soldiers passed through, the dragon and phoenix pulling the coffin. The same scene appeared again. Ling Xiao's eyes revealed a hint of sharpness. Almost every time he saw the flowing time temple, he would see such a scene. The huge bone dragon and bone phoenix were so shocking every time he saw them. They exuded an incomparably terrifying aura. Could it be that the flowing time temple will only open after the dragon and phoenix pull the coffin and the Yin soldiers clear the way? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, revealing a thoughtful look. Rumble. As the bone dragon and bone phoenix slowly approached, everyone was shocked. Apart from a few genius experts from the martial Dao Holy Land who had seen similar records in the ancient records of their sects, it was the first time for everyone else to see such a scene. The white jade square was completely silent. Everyone was looking at the scene in the sky. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly as they felt an incomparably stifling atmosphere. Boom! When the Bone Dragon and Bone Phoenix arrived in front of the Flowing Time Divine Palace, heaven and earth trembled. The Flowing Time Divine Palace emitted dazzling rays of divine light that rushed into the void. Chaotic fog filled the air, as if it was the light of the creation of the world, mysterious and vast. The two stone doors of the Flowing Time Divine Temple slowly opened, and a resplendent divine light mixed with chaotic chi gushed out. A mysterious vision flashed within, as if it was connected to another world. The Bone Dragon and Bone Phoenix pulled the ancient bronze coffin, and under the escort of a group of Een soldiers, they slowly entered the Flowing Time Temple. The Flowing Time Temple has finally opened. Many geniuses revealed a trace of excitement in their eyes as they heaved a sigh of relief in their hearts. This also meant that the Heavenly Selection Convention had officially begun. Whoosh! Above the void, light filled the air as if it was the trace of the passage of time. In the midst of the resplendent white divine light, a figure in white clothes slowly emerged. "It's the Time General!" someone exclaimed, and a trace of anticipation appeared in their eyes. "Everyone, welcome to the Flowing Time Temple. From today onwards, the Heavenly Selection Convention has officially begun." The Time General smiled faintly, and there seemed to be a dazzling light flowing in his eyes. He swept his gaze across the crowd, and finally stopped on Ling Xiao and the successor of the War God Temple for a moment before moving away. The Divine General of Time's words immediately cheered everyone up. This time, there were hundreds of thousands of geniuses who had entered the Time Cave. Except for a few who unfortunately died in the Time Cave, most of them had come here. Powerful and terrifying auras intertwined, and everyone wanted to enter the Flowing Time Temple to try their luck. Everyone, the Heavenly Selection Convention has a total of 9 checkpoints, also known as the 9 Heavens World. The Heavenly Selection Convention has been open for so long, and the most powerful person has only reached the 8 Heavens World. As for the 9 Heavens World, no one has ever entered it. I hope that this time, everyone can break the record and pass the 9 checkpoints in a row. Only then can you become the true Heavenly Selection. Those who have already reached the Supremacy Realm have no way to enter the Flowing Time Temple. Only those below the Supremacy Realm have the hope of becoming the Heavenly Selection. The Time General said faintly, "Every checkpoint you pass will bring you great benefits. In the end, the top 10 will be selected. Not only will they be listed on the Azure Sky ranking, but they will also be rewarded with peerless martial arts and supreme divine weapons. Everyone, work hard and follow me into the Flowing Time Temple. Once you enter, you will naturally know the rules of each checkpoint." The Flowing Time General's words immediately made everyone excited. They all soared into the air and rushed towards the Flowing Time Temple. "Ling Xiao, I won't go in. Be careful, the successor of the War God Temple isn't a good person. Be careful of that kid's tricks," the old goat said to Ling Xiao. "All right." Ling Xiao nodded, his eyes revealing a trace of sharpness. "Ling Xiao, I hope you can persevere for a few more checkpoints. If you get eliminated quickly, it won't be fun. I will wait for you in the 9th checkpoint." The successor of the War God Temple glanced at Ling Xiao indifferently. "Don't worry. I will definitely enter the 9th checkpoint. I'm just afraid that when the time comes, you won't even have the qualifications to see me." Ling Xiao smiled faintly and replied, "You have a sharp tongue. The Heavenly Selection Convention isn't as simple as you think." The successor of the War God Temple sneered and turned around to enter the Flowing Time Temple with everyone else. Ling Xiao also smiled indifferently and entered the Flowing Time Temple with everyone else. Rumble. Entering the Flowing Time Temple was like entering a new world. Everyone around Ling Xiao disappeared. The surrounding area was a vast expanse of whiteness. There was only an ordinary road in front of him that led to the distance. The path of reflection. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed, and a piece of information appeared in his sea of consciousness. The first checkpoint was the path of reflection. It was a test of one's soul. It tested the strength of one's martial Tao and whether it was an illusion or reality. Chapter 826. The Wenshin Road had a total of 81 interrogations, all of which were directed at one's heart. They contained one's obsession with martial arts and tested one's 7 emotions and 6 desires. One would pass if they could pass the test within a day. The Wunshin Road? Be it in my previous life or now, my martial arts heart has never wavered. Ling Xiao's eyes glinted as he slowly took a step forward. Boom! The surroundings changed, and Ling Xiao appeared in a magnificent palace. He sat on the dragon throne, surrounded by peerless beauties dressed in chiffon. They were all looking at Ling Xiao affectionately. Many of these beauties were familiar faces to Ling Xiao. There was Lu Piapiao, Nan Gongqing, Ji Feishuan, Ji Shuiyao, Ling Qingqing, and even the Phoenix Maiden and the Moon Goddess. They danced in front of Ling Xiao, exuding a different kind of seductive aura. Their figures were extremely hot. As the saying goes, even heroes have a weakness for the charms of beautiful women, let alone a hot-blooded young man. As long as there was a slight flaw in his state of mind, he would probably fall for them. However, Ling Xiao looked on coldly from the side. His eyes were clear as he continued to walk forward slowly. Ling Xiao, don't go. Don't you love me anymore? Ling Xiao, I'm willing to grow old with you. I'm willing to give birth to many children for you. We will be very happy. Why do you want to leave me? Ling Xiao, how can you be so cruel? Is the martial arts path so important? The gentle voices of the Moon Goddess, the Phoenix Maiden, and the others rang in Ling Xiao's ears. They wanted him to turn back and immerse himself in their tenderness forever. The martial arts path is eternal. My path is the peak of the martial arts path. Beautiful women, withered bones, pink skeletons, they are nothing but fleeting clouds. Ling Xiao sighed softly. He didn't even turn back. He ignored the calls behind him and ignored the tenderness of the beauties. He was like a cold-blooded person. Every step he took was firm and merciless. Boom! The scenery around him disappeared, and Ling Xiao appeared in an unknown world. Around him were unmatched divine artifacts, exceptional divine medicines, countless pure yang pills, as well as heaven-reaching wealth. They emitted resplendent radiance, sparkling with precious light. Ling Xiao could feel the energy waves from the supreme weapons and elixirs. They were dazzling and looked exactly the same as the real world. They were not illusions at all. It was as if as long as he stayed there for a moment, he would be able to make those powerful divine artifacts recognize him as their master and even obtain unparalleled power. However, Ling Xiao did not stop at all. From the beginning to the end, he stuck to his own heart and knew his own direction. Moreover, he did not hesitate at all. On this path of reflection, Ling Xiao experienced test after test and temptation after temptation, but he never stopped moving. Rumble. In the void, there was the sound of thunder and dazzling light. A mysterious voice rang out and directly transmitted into the depths of his soul. Ling Xiao, as long as you stop, you will have wealth that can rival an entire country, endless power, and a peerless beauty. The path of martial arts is too lonely, and the peak of martial arts is illusory. Why don't you stop and enjoy all this? Ling Xiao, you have parents and family. In the future, you will have a wife and children. You are so unreasonable and only know about martial arts. Are you a good son, a good husband, and a good father? Ling Xiao, as long as you stop, this world will be yours. You will be the god of this world. You can do whatever you want and do whatever you want. Ling Xiao, as long as you stop, all your enemies will die. The people you love will be happy. You will live forever and be happy. Isn't that good? Ling Xiao, as long as you stop, you will be able to obtain everything. Why do you still pursue the path of martial arts? A series of mysterious interrogations rang out in the void. They were about the 7 emotions and 6 desires, about greed, about anger, about love, hate, and separation. All of them were directed at Ling Xiao's heart. I don't want to. Ling Xiao raised his head and looked at the sky. His eyes were extremely sharp, as if they could pierce through the sky. His voice was resolute and resolute. I don't want to reach the heavens in a single step because my foundation is not firm enough. The higher I fly, the harder I fall sooner or later. I don't want to leave my fate to others. I want to control my own fate. Whether it's being filial to my parents, loving my wife and children, protecting everything I love, or even killing my enemies, I want to complete them all one by one. My fate is in my own hands, not the heavens. I don't want to go against my heart. I like the feeling of being grounded, because that's the real me. No one can decide the path I choose for me, not even the heavens. With every step Ling Xiao took, a resolute statement would ring out from his mouth. The illusionary worlds around him rapidly shattered. Countless temptations, countless illusions, everything was like a fleeting cloud, shattering one after another. Ling Xiao, do you miss Jin Se? As long as you stop, Jin Se will be with you. You will never be separated. Suddenly, a voice exploded in the depths of Ling Xiao's soul once more. Ling Xiao's resolute heart could not help but tremble slightly. The world around him changed, and Ling Xiao arrived at a familiar place. This was the Twin Mountains. Two delicate peaks rose steeply from the ground, piercing through the clouds. All around him were towering ancient trees, and countless exotic flowers and plants were in full bloom, exuding a faint fragrance. The sky was high, and white clouds drifted in the sky. The sunlight fell on his body, warm and gentle. In front of Ling Xiao, there was a beautiful woman in a red dress who was smiling at him. Her eyes were filled with gentleness and warmth. Big brother Ling Xiao, come quickly. Come play with me. Big brother Ling Xiao, do you know how much I miss you? I miss you so much. Jin Se smiled at Ling Xiao, her voice as clear as a silver bell. Jin Se. Jin Se, Ling Xiao's eyes became slightly moist. Looking at the face in front of him that he yearned for day and night, even if he knew that this was only an illusion, that the flowing time temple had stolen the memories in his heart and condensed them into Jin Se, Ling Xiao was still unable to control himself. Jin Se, are you all right? Ling Xiao stopped and stood beside Jin Se as he asked softly. Big brother Ling Xiao, I'm fine. Can you stay with me? I've already waited for you for 10,000 years. I don't want to be separated from you again. Jin Se looked at Ling Xiao affectionately, then gently walked over and hugged Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's body trembled. Her delicate body was in his embrace, warm and real. His hands wrapped tightly around Jin Se's slender waist. Everything was so real. Smelling that familiar scent and looking at Jin Se's smiling face, this was the first time Ling Xiao saw Jin Se after 10,000 years. Chapter 827. All of Ling Xiao's persistence, hard work, and struggle between life and death were all meaningful at that moment. Ling Xiao's eyes became blurry as tears fell from them. However, a childlike smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Jin Se, my Jin Se. It's been 10,000 years. It's great to see you again. Ling Xiao muttered to himself as if he wanted to be immersed in the dreamland forever, unwilling to wake up. The flowing time divine palace was like a chaotic world. There were 9 mysterious palaces, each higher than the previous one, emitting a majestic and mysterious aura. In the first palace, many people appeared in this palace after walking out of the Heartseeker Road. 20 hours had passed and there were already a few thousand people in the palace. They were all people who had walked out of Wenxin Road. Long Outyen, Long Zhantian, and the others had already walked out. At that moment, their eyes were filled with anxiety. Why hasn't cousin come out yet? It's almost time. Long Outyen said worriedly. Wenxin Road represented the strength of one's martial arts heart. It represented one's mental state cultivation. The stronger the mental state, the stronger the martial arts heart, and the shorter the time taken to walk out. For example, the descendant of the war god temple only took 15 minutes to walk out of Wenxin Road. He was also the first person to pass. Buddha Kasyapa and Emperor Qing were only a few breaths later than the descendant of the war god temple. They were also very fast. Zhao Ritian, on the other hand, was a surprise. He was the fourth to leave Wenqin Road. Jian Wushuang, Duge Shui, Qing Yun, and Zhu Biao also followed Cassiope and Emperor Qing out of Wenqin Road. What surprised everyone was that Taoist Wu Yang and Long Outyen, like Jian Wushuang and the others, took less than 30 minutes to walk out of the War God Temple. If Ling Xiao were here, he would definitely know that Taoist Wu Yang was hiding his true strength. His true strength was definitely not limited to this. Taoist Wu Yang's state of mind was probably even more terrifying than Ling Xiao's. It was a state of mind where there was nothing but the mind. Long Outyen, on the other hand, had a pure and innocent heart. Hence, his speed was extremely fast. As for Long Zhantian, Li Jingming, Lin Hui, Yueshan, and Phoenix Maiden, they were all geniuses. They used less than 2 hours to pass the Heartseeker Road. The first 10 to clear Wenqin Road were out. They were the successor of War God Temple, Buddha Cassiope, Emperor Qing, Zhao Ritian, Jian Wushuang, Duge Shui, Qing Yun, Zhu Biao, Daoist Wu Yang, and Long Outyen. Surprisingly, Duan Wuji, who was ranked 5th on the Azure Sky ranking, took 6 hours to leave Wenqin Road. Murong Xiantian, who was ranked 7th, also took 4 hours. And Leng Yuyu, like Long Zhantian and the others, used nearly 2 hours to clear the stage. Many people guessed that Duan Wuji's mental state had been affected by Ling Xiao's slap in the face. Otherwise, he wouldn't have taken so long. What shocked everyone the most was that Ling Xiao still hadn't exited seclusion until now. Previously, outside the Flowing Time Temple, Ling Xiao had easily slapped Duan Wuji twice. Many people believed that Ling Xiao's battle prowess was at least comparable to Emperor Qing's. It stood to reason that he should have come out long ago. However, 20 hours had passed and Ling Xiao still hadn't appeared. One had to know that those who hadn't passed Wenqin Road after 24 hours would all be eliminated. Even Ma Junjie, Xiong Xiaohe, and Hu Zi, who had good aptitudes, had exited seclusion in about 6 hours. Ling Xiao must have encountered something in Wenqin Road. Don't worry about him, he will definitely come out soon. Daoist Wu Yang's eyes flashed as he comforted them. He knew that Ling Xiao's martial heart was extremely firm. The only flaw was Jin Se. Could it be that Ling Xiao had met Jin southeast in Wenqin Road? That was probably the only explanation. Hee, what bullshit peerless genius. He still hasn't passed Wenqin Road. His state of mind is really unbearable. I think that even if he passes Wenqin Road, he will definitely be eliminated in the second stage. Duan Wuji finally found a reason to attack Ling Xiao and sneered. Brother Duan is right. Although Wenqin Road only needs to be cleared in 1 day, only those who pass within 6 hours are qualified to attempt the second stage. Even if Ling Xiao comes out, he won't have a chance. His aptitude is really unbearable. Murong Xiantian also sneered. What are you two bastards talking about? Cousin will definitely come out and pass the second, third, and even the 9th stage. Don't look down on him, you two bastards. Long Outyen's eyes revealed a trace of anger as he glared at Duan Wuji and Murong Xiantian. Boy, don't be so stubborn. Ling Xiao has brute force, but his state of mind is not up to par. I'm afraid that he will never be able to become a sovereign in his lifetime. Not to mention the second stage. I bet that Ling Xiao will definitely be eliminated in the second stage. Duan Wuji sneered. Seeing that Long Outyen was about to go berserk, Daoist Wu Yang quickly pulled him back and glanced at Duan Wuji. Are you so sure that Ling Xiao will be eliminated in the second stage? Do you dare to make a bet with us? Bet on what? Duan Wuji sneered. Bet that Ling Xiao can pass the second stage. If Ling Xiao can pass the second stage, you will obediently kneel down and shout, I'm an idiot, 3 times. Do you dare? Daoist Wu Yang smiled faintly. Although Long Outyen didn't know what Daoist Wu Yang was up to, he couldn't be weak at this moment. He sneered. That's right, you're an idiot. Don't you dare. Why wouldn't I dare? Fine. I'll bet with you. But if Ling Xiao can't pass the second stage, you two will have to kneel down and call me grandfather 3 times. Do you dare? Duan Wuji sneered. In the previous Heaven's Choice conventions, only those who passed the first trial within 6 hours had a chance of passing the second trial. Even if there were exceptions, they would at least pass within 10 hours. Now that 20 hours had passed, it was absolutely impossible for Ling Xiao to pass the second stage. Ha ha ha. Good. But to prevent anyone from going back on their word, how about we ask the Divine General of Time to be a witness? Daoist Wu Yang smiled faintly and looked up at the Divine General of Time. The Divine General of Time had been sitting cross-legged as if cultivating. No one dared to disturb him, but when he heard Daoist Wu Yang's words, he slowly opened his eyes, a strange light filling them. Good. I'll be your witness. The Divine General of Time said faintly. Ha ha ha. You've lost for sure. Don't mention the second stage, I don't think Ling Xiao can even pass the first stage. Just wait until you kneel down and call me grandfather. Duan Wuji sneered. Is that so? We'll see. Chapter 828. Inside the Wenxin Road. As Ling Xiao and Jin Sei were together, time ticked by. He could clearly feel that the 24-hour limit was about to be reached. Jin Sei, I'm leaving. Ling Xiao said as he looked at Jin Sei, where are you going? Big brother Ling Xiao, I won't let you go. Can you stay with me? Jin Sei has been alone for 10,000 years, I don't want you to leave me. Jin Sei's face revealed a pained expression as she hugged Ling Xiao. Jin Sei, trust me. Once I become a supreme, I'll bring you back. We'll never be apart. Ling Xiao said affectionately. Bring me back. Aren't I right here? Big brother Ling Xiao, don't go, okay? Jin Sei said as tears welled up in her eyes. I'm sorry, Jin Sei. I have to go. Trust me, I'll come back for you. Ling Xiao left Jin Sei's embrace and looked at her one last time before he turned around and left without hesitation. Big brother Ling Xiao, don't leave me. Come back, Jin Sei's cries came from behind, causing Ling Xiao's heart to tremble. But he still left without hesitation. Ling Xiao knew that an illusion would always be an illusion. Although he had been willful this time and accompanied Jin Sei for so long, the time to wake up had come. He had to work hard to pass the 9 stages and obtain the inheritance of the Scarlet Dragon War God. This time, he couldn't give in to anyone. In the first palace, the 24-hour limit was almost up, but Ling Xiao still hadn't come out. What happened to cousin? Could it be the War God Temple's doing? Long Outyen said angrily. Everyone's eyes were filled with disbelief. Was Ling Xiao going to be eliminated in the first round? Even the successor of the War God Temple, Kasyapa, and the Lotus Emperor were confused. They had seen Ling Xiao before and knew his strength. Although the Wenxin Road wasn't simple, it shouldn't be that Ling Xiao couldn't pass it after such a long time. Ha ha ha. What did I say? You want to bet with me with just you? Ling Xiao can't even pass the first stage. You want to pass the second stage? Hurry up and kneel down and call me grandpa. Duan Wuji laughed heartily, his eyes filled with pride. Brother Duan, Ling Xiao is really overestimating himself. His mental state cultivation is really disappointing. Murong Xiantian said with a faint smile. But in the next moment, Duan Wuji and Murong Xuantian's laughter stopped abruptly. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. In the distance, on the Wenxin Road that was filled with mist, Ling Xiao's figure stepped out. His steps were slow, but they were extremely firm. There was a sharp glint in Ling Xiao's eyes. His entire being seemed to have undergone a baptism, becoming even more unfathomable. Cousin, you finally came out. You scared me to death. Long Outyen's eyes were filled with joy as he quickly ran over to Jiang Chen and said. I'm fine. I was delayed by a small matter. Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Daoist Wu Yang did not seem surprised at all. He exchanged a glance with Ling Xiao. When he saw the calm expression in Ling Xiao's eyes, Daoist Wu Yang knew that he had guessed correctly. It was indeed Jin Se. Only Jin Se could delay Ling Xiao for such a long time. What's there to be happy about? It took him 24 hours to barely pass the Wenxin Road. He will definitely be eliminated in the second round. I will definitely win this bet, Duan Wuji said with a cold smile. His voice was extremely harsh. Bet? Ling Xiao frowned slightly and glanced at Long Outyen and Daoist Wu Yang. It's like this. Duan Wuji saw that you had not come out of the Wenxin Road after so long, so he made a bet with us. He said that even if you came out of the Wenxin Road, you would definitely not be able to pass the second stage. So we made a bet with him. Daoist Wu Yang smiled faintly and told Ling Xiao about the bet with Duan Wuji. Cousin, Duan Wuji is a big idiot. If you can't pass the second stage, I'm afraid that everyone else can. Later, we must give this idiot a good slap in the face. Long Outyen sneered as he looked at Duan Wuji. A bet? He really brought this upon himself. Ling Xiao smiled faintly and looked calmly at Duan Wuji. Zhao Ritian, who was in the distance, saw Ling Xiao come out of the Wenxin Road and heaved a sigh of relief. I knew it. How could this fiend not be able to pass the Heartseeker Road? He must have a bellyful of dirty tricks to trick people. Looks like Duan Wuji is in trouble now, Zhao Ritian said with a hint of schadenfreude. Zhao Ritian had been tricked by Ling Xiao in the Eight Desolates region. He had eaten a few pieces of diamond rock and was still traumatized by it. It was fine to bet with anyone. Zhao Ritian's principle was to never bet with Ling Xiao. That was simply asking for trouble. Time's up. The Time Divine General opened his eyes and there was a glimmer of light in them. He waved his sleeves and the Wenxin Road shone brightly. Those who had not yet passed the Wenxin Road flew out of the Time Divine Hall and landed on the square outside the Time Divine Hall. They had all been eliminated. Congratulations everyone. A total of 8,352 people have passed the first stage. Now, please proceed to the second stage, the Time Divine General said faintly. The door of the first heavenly palace slowly opened and emitted a bright light. A rainbow bridge extended out and connected to the second heavenly palace. Finally, the second stage. Let's go. The second stage is said to be related to the comprehension of the law profound. It tests one's martial Dao law power. This is my strong point. Let's go. Everyone stepped onto the rainbow bridge and flew towards the second stage. Boom. After everyone entered the second heavenly palace, a bright light shone in front of them and they arrived in an ancient small world. There was a huge lake in front of them. It was at least 10,000 miles wide and it was as calm as a mirror. However, everyone could feel a mysterious fluctuation of law power coming from the lake. The second stage, the Lake of Laws. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed and he began to check the information about the Lake of Laws in his mind. It turned out that this lake was called the Lake of Laws. It contained many fishes formed from law power. There were the 5 elements of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth, as well as lightning, wind, ice, yin, and yang. Every law was divided into small success, large success, and perfection. A fish at small success was only an inch long, a fish at large success was a foot long, and a fish at large success was 10 feet long. This stage was a competition of fishing. Within a day, one had to catch at least one fish with perfection to pass the stage. Fishing. This stage is really ingenious. Chapter 829. Normally speaking, King Realm experts condensed soul cores and started to cultivate divine abilities in the martial Dao. Monarch Realm experts condensed divine abilities and started to rely on the energy of the laws of the world to erupt with terrifying strength. However, only Exalt Realm experts were able to completely comprehend the laws of the world. For example, those that had comprehended the laws of the 5 elements were the gold, wood, water, fire, and earth elemental exalts. The reason exalts possessed such terrifying strength was because they were able to fully utilize the energy of the laws of the world. So, logically speaking, only exalts were able to get close to the energy of the laws and fish them out of the lake of laws at perfection. Half-step exalts were at most able to fish out the laws at the initial stage, and it was extremely difficult to fish out the laws at perfection. Cousin brother, I don't know how to fish. Why don't I just jump into the lake of laws and catch a few dozen? Long Outyen scratched his head with an embarrassed expression. Jump in and catch fish. Why don't you just go to heaven? Ling Xiao rolled his eyes and glared at Long Outyen. The lake of laws contained powerful laws of the world, and it was extremely chaotic. It could be said to be condensed from the energy of the laws. Not to mention a half-step exalt, even a true exalt would be assimilated by the chaotic energy of the laws if they jumped into the lake of laws just like that. Their body would collapse, and even their soul core would be transformed into nothingness. It could be said that the lake of laws was even more terrifying than poison. Unless one possessed the legendary chaotic saint physique that could contain all energy, perhaps only then would one be able to remain safe within the laws of chaos. Even though Long Outyen's body was very strong, it was still made of flesh and blood in the end, so it was utterly unable to endure the chaotic energy within the lake of laws. After he heard Ling Xiao explain the lake of laws, Long Outyen was terrified to the point of jumping up and down as if he'd seen a ghost. He moved very far away from the lake of laws and didn't mention anything about entering the lake of laws again. Fishing in the lake of laws wasn't done with a simple hook or line, and it could be done with various methods. For example, one could use a formidable exalt artifact to catch the fish, or one could even jump down to catch the fish. As for the true method, it was to use the soul core as the line and the quintessence of the martial Tao as the hook to comprehend the fluctuations of the laws within the lake of laws and draw the fish out of it. This wasn't just a test of one's comprehension of the laws, but more importantly, the strength of one's mental state. Ling Xiao, you used 24 hours to pass through the Heartseeker Road. From this, it can be seen just how weak your mental state is. Let alone a fish with perfected laws, just being able to catch a fish with minor success laws is already your good fortune. This time, you're bound to lose. Duan Wuji looked at Ling Xiao provocatively and sneered. The reason Duan Wuji dared to make this bet was because he knew that the second trial was the lake of laws. With Ling Xiao's current state of mind, it was simply impossible for him to catch a fish with perfect laws in a day. Ling Xiao didn't even glance at Duan Wuji, directly ignoring him. Instead, he sat down cross-legged beside the lake of laws and began to comprehend the power of laws within it. Bastard! Duan Wuji's expression darkened when he saw Ling Xiao's disregard. Brother Duan, why don't we attack together this time? As long as Ling Xiao perceives a law fish, we can scare it away. That way, Ling Xiao won't be able to sense a single law fish. Murong Xuantian's eyes lit up as he suddenly sent a voice transmission to Duan Wuji. Okay, let's do it. Brother Murong, as long as we can eliminate Ling Xiao, I'll owe you a favor. Duan Wuji replied fiercely. Ling Xiao didn't look at Duan Wuji and Murong Xiantian. Instead, he closed his eyes, calmed his heart, and sent the power of his primordial spirit into the lake of laws. Boom! Ling Xiao's primordial spirit seemed to have entered a vast and mysterious world. The lake of laws was incomparably mysterious. The power of laws intertwined and transformed into countless strange scenes. There was a world of flames, a world of ice, a world of wind, a world of thunder and lightning. In front of the majestic power of laws, Ling Xiao's primordial spirit was insignificant, like a drop of water in an endless sea. Ling Xiao felt as if his primordial spirit was being tempered by a mysterious power. The power of laws flowed, making his understanding of the world clearer. When Ling Xiao's primordial spirit entered the lake of laws, it was like a sponge, absorbing a large amount of the power of laws. The heat of the flames, the cold of the frost, the sharpness of the wind, the destruction of the thunder and lightning, the circulation of the 5 elements, the changes of yin and yang, the creation of all things. All kinds of mysterious power of laws began to gather in Ling Xiao's primordial spirit, causing his understanding of the laws of heaven and earth to increase rapidly. So that's how it is. Ling Xiao understood in his heart. Logically speaking, it was impossible for a half-step sovereign to catch a fish with perfect laws. However, if the primordial spirit was tempered in the lake of laws, it would be able to comprehend the laws of heaven and earth in the lake of laws and constantly improve its perfection. Rather than saying that it took 24 hours to catch a fish with perfect laws, it was better to say that those 24 hours were a supreme opportunity and great fortune. It was no wonder that the successor of the war god temple, Buddha Kasyapa, Emperor Qing, and the others sat cross-legged beside the lake of laws and sank their primordial spirits into the lake of laws to begin absorbing the power of laws. Only a few people who didn't know the inside story were scratching their ears and cheeks. Some took out powerful Tao tools like nets, and some even took out supreme tools in an attempt to forcibly catch the fish. However, those fish weren't physical, but formed from the laws of heaven and earth. Without the guidance of the primordial spirit, even a divine tool wouldn't be able to catch those fish, let alone a supreme tool. Boom! 3,000 chaotic worlds seemed to appear behind the successor of the war god Hall. The power of his primordial spirit was unparalleled, directly radiating out to a radius of 3,000 feet. The lake of laws in front of him seemed to begin to ripple. Strands of powerful power of laws seemed to be devoured as they fused into the chaotic world behind the war god temple. A mysterious Buddha appeared above Buddha Kasyapa's head. He sat cross-legged in the void, smiling as he pinched a flower. His body emitted a brilliant light that seemed to illuminate millions of worlds, radiating a radius of 29,000 feet. He was also refining the power of laws. Behind the Emperor Qing, a mysterious ball of dazzling green light surrounded by a mysterious chaotic fog. No one could see clearly what was inside the ball of green light. If it were Ling Xiao, he would definitely be able to see that the ball of green light contained the Emperor Qing's true body, the Grade 36 Chaotic Green Lotus. The Grade 36 Chaotic Green Lotus seemed to be rooted in the depths of the endless void. Its 36 petals were dazzling, radiating a radius of 29,000 feet and beginning to absorb the power of laws. The vision behind Zhao Ritian was also extremely shocking. It was a dazzling and mysterious divine sun that emitted an endless blazing light that seemed to illuminate the 9 heavens and 10 lands. Zhao Ritian also radiated a radius of 29,000 feet and began to absorb the power of laws. Chapter 830. The successor of the war god temple is indeed the strongest. His primordial spirit radiated 1,000 feet. I'm afraid this is unprecedented in the history of the Heaven's Choice Convention, right? That's right. Legend has it that the limit of a half-step sovereign's lake of law is 3,000 feet. It seems that only the legendary sword demon Dugu Qiubai has achieved it. The successor of the war god temple seems to be the legendary nine-severing genius. I think he's definitely the chosen one of this Heaven's Choice Convention. That's right. However, the range of the primordial spirit radiated only represents the potential of the primordial spirit. Buddha Kasyapa and Emperor Qing also radiated 29,000 feet, which is about the same as the successor of the war god temple. It's enough to be ranked in the top 10 in history. They have the strength to compete with the successor of the war god temple. And that Zhao Ritian, how can that guy have such terrifying primordial spirit potential? It's unbelievable. Everyone discussed animatedly, their eyes filled with incomparable shock. Look, that fatty seems to be called Zhu Biao, and that mysterious young man Qing Yun. His primordial spirit actually radiated 28,099 feet, even surpassing Jian Wushuang and Dugu Shui. Another person cried out in alarm, and his entire body began to tremble. Zhu Biao was like a fat piece of meat sitting next to the lake of law. He was still gnawing on a lamb leg, but there was a terrifying beast behind him. It was shrouded in endless divine light and couldn't be seen clearly. Behind Qing Yun, there was a stretch of chaotic lightning that was filled with mysterious light. It rumbled and shook the heavens, causing people to tremble in fear. Zhu Biao and Qing Yun's primordial spirit radiations had actually reached 28,099 feet. As for Jian Wushuang and Duge Shui, there was a terrifying divine sword behind them, filled with sword essence. It was incomparably terrifying, radiating 28,000 feet. It was also considered very shocking. However, in front of Zhu Biao and Qing Yun, it was somewhat overshadowed. That fatty Zhu Biao's original body seems to be a fierce beast, but it's incomparably mysterious. It's very likely that he's also a descendant of an ancient divine beast. Qing Yun is more mysterious. This young man seems to have appeared out of thin air. It's possible that he's the successor of a hidden ancient clan. Some people's eyes flashed as they guessed the true identity of Zhu Biao and Qing Yun. However, many people had different opinions, which made Zhu Biao and Qing Yun's identity even more mysterious. These people were the most dazzling existences, while the others were overshadowed. However, the few people with Ling Ling Xiao were rather eye-catching and shocking. But the moon and phoenix woman's primordial radiations had reached a terrifying primordial spirit. Radiations of moon and phoenix maiden's primordial spirit had a terrifying radiations of moon's radiations of moon goddess and phoenix lady. On the other hand, Daoist Wuyang and Long Outyen were also extremely shocking. Both of their primordial divinities had a range of 2,600 zhang. To the heavens, was. Ling Xiao estimated that Long Outyen's potential might not be comparable to the successor of War God Temple, but he would definitely not be weaker than Buddhist Kasayapa, Qing Yun, and Zhao Ritian. Damn it! How can those guys with Ling Xiao have such powerful primordial spirit potential? Duan Wuji and Murong Xuantian's faces were ugly. Their primordial spirit radiations had radiations of moon goddess. Although it was not bad, they could rank in the top 100 among the thousands of people present. However, it was not comparable to the strength of the Azure Sky Roll's geniuses. It attracted the attention of many people, which made Duan Wuji and Murong Xiantian extremely depressed. That's Ling Xiao. Ha ha ha. I'm dying of laughter. Radiations of moon goddess. I'm afraid he's dead last, right? Duan Wuji was stunned when he saw the range of Ling Xiao's primordial spirit. Then, he burst into laughter. Ling Xiao's primordial spirit sat cross-legged beside the lake of law. Golden light flickered around him, and there seemed to be a mysterious golden vortex behind him. At this moment, there were thousands of people sitting cross-legged beside the lake of law. Almost all of them were half-step supremes, but even the weakest one had a primordial spirit radiations of moon goddess. Ling Xiao's primordial spirit radiated a radius of 10 feet. Indeed, he was ranked last. That's Ling Xiao. How disappointing. He killed the Ziwei Star Child and the Sky-Burning Demon Emperor. How can his primordial spirit radiations of moon goddess be only 10 feet? Many people were also paying attention to Ling Xiao. When they saw the range of Ling Xiao's primordial spirit radiations, they were filled with disbelief and disappointment. Before entering the Flowing Time Shrine, many people thought that Ling Xiao had the strength to compete with Buddha Kasayapa and Emperor Qing. However, his performance in the first and second trials had disappointed many people. Sigh. There's no other way. Ling Xiao was the last to come out of the path of reflection in the first trial. It seems that his mental state cultivation is really weak. No matter how many opportunities he has, no matter how strong he is, he showed it all in the Heavenly Choice Convention. That's right. There's a saying that goes, being young is not necessarily good. It's used to describe Ling Xiao. With Ling Xiao's talent, I'm afraid he won't be able to become a supremacy in this lifetime. It seems that Duan Wuji and Murong Xiantian were right. Ling Xiao will definitely be eliminated in the second trial. Many people were discussing and sighing. Ling Xiao's primordial spirit radiations were even more shocking than the primordial spirit radiations of the successor of the War God Temple. You bastards, do you have nothing better to do? If you don't want to participate in the Heavenly Choice Convention, then get out of here. Do you think my cousin needs to be discussed by you? Long Outyen, who was absorbing the power of law, opened his eyes and roared at the crowd. His lungs were about to explode from anger when he heard the crowd's words. A terrifying and vast dragon aura radiated from Long Outyan's body, causing everyone to tremble. It was as if they were facing a powerful divine beast. Everyone shut their mouths and began to absorb the power of law to cultivate. However, many people still looked at Ling Xiao with gloating eyes. Ignore them. I don't know what kind of evil tricks Ling Xiao is hiding. I think he's trying to trick Duan Wuji and Murong Xiantian. You should cultivate well. This lake of law is a supreme opportunity that only appears once in 1,000 years. Don't waste a single second. Daoist Wu Yang's voice suddenly entered Long Outyan's mind as he chuckled. Long Outyan was taken aback for a moment before he grinned. He was too concerned. How could Ling Xiao's primordial spirit radiations only be 10 feet? He must be hiding his strength. He was probably trying to trick them. However, he was too ruthless in hiding his strength. His primordial spirit radiations of 10 feet were fake no matter how one looked at it. However, the crowd couldn't see through it and continued to mock Ling Xiao. Chapter 831. According to past heavenly selection conferences, if a half-step supreme being wanted to catch a fish with perfected laws within 24 hours, their primordial spirit radiation would have to reach more than 10,000 feet. Only by radiating his essence soul for 1,000 feet would he be able to absorb enough nomological power in a short 24 hours to fish out a perfected nomological fish. In other words, 90% of the thousands of people would be eliminated. The second stage, the Lake of Laws, was indeed very difficult. Many people felt dejected. This was only the second stage. There were 9 stages in the Heavenly Selection Conference. If the second stage was so difficult, who could make it to the end? Ling Xiao closed his eyes and sat cross-legged beside the Lake of Laws. His body was surrounded by a faint golden light and a golden vortex was behind him. The phenomenon on Ling Xiao's body was naturally incomparable to that of the successor of the War God Temple, Buddha Kasyapa, Emperor Qing, Xiao Ritian, and the others. However, Ling Xiao didn't care about the others and was deeply immersed in a state of enlightenment. What no one noticed was that the wordless heavenly book was emitting a mysterious fluctuation that allowed Ling Xiao's primordial spirit to completely spread out and shroud the entire Lake of Laws. In Ling Xiao's eyes, the Lake of Laws became clearer and clearer. The mysterious power of laws were like law lines that were densely intertwined and began to slowly integrate into Ling Xiao's primordial spirit. The wordless heavenly book didn't seem to have any attributes. No matter what kind of law was in the Lake of Laws, they were all pulled by the wordless heavenly book and were devoured by Ling Xiao's primordial spirit. This Lake of Law can perhaps be seen as a small origin sea. Ling Xiao thought to himself. Back then, he saw the origin sea of the War God continent in the God Burial Cave. The vast and mysterious power of laws of heaven and earth was countless times greater than this Lake of Laws. If I want to enter the origin sea to find the Jin Sei, this Lake of Laws is a good opportunity. It seems that I have to give it a try. Ling Xiao thought to himself. Long Outyan had said that he wanted to jump into the Lake of Laws, but Ling Xiao had stopped him. Now, Ling Xiao had to make such a crazy decision. Ling Xiao could feel that although the Lake of Laws was very dangerous, he had the wordless heavenly book in hand and the sky-devouring secret technique that could devour endless power of laws. He should be able to give it a try. If he didn't even dare to enter the Lake of Laws, how could he enter the origin sea? Ling Xiao's eyes abruptly opened, revealing a glimmer of light. Wu Yang, Ao Tian, I'm preparing to enter the Lake of Law to take a look. Don't worry. After Ling Xiao finished speaking, he instantly turned into a stream of light and entered the Lake of Law. Enter the Lake of Law, you, Daoist Wu Yang was also shocked by Ling Xiao's decision. However, before he could stop him, Ling Xiao had already jumped in. Moreover, he stopped breathing in an instant. Cousin didn't let me enter the Lake of Law, so why did he jump in himself? Could it be that he really wants to jump into the Lake of Law to catch fish? Long Outyan was also dumbfounded, his face full of disbelief. Don't worry. Since he dares to go down, he will be fine. Taoist Wu Yang smiled bitterly and quickly comforted Long Outyan. When Ling Xiao jumped into the lake of law, many people were dumbfounded. Jumping into the lake of law. This is Ling Xiao courting death. It's said that even supreme being powerhouses don't dare to enter the lake of law. Even if Ling Xiao wants to die, he doesn't have to do this, right? Could it be that he suffered a blow? His primordial spirit radiated 10 feet. This kind of potential and aptitude is simply trash. Could it be that he couldn't think of anything and jumped into the lake to commit suicide? It's over. This time Ling Xiao is definitely dead. Moreover, he will die without a complete corpse. Everyone had different expressions as they discussed in low voices. There were even some who revealed expressions of schadenfreude. Jumping into the lake of law. This guy. Is he really courting death? Duan Wuji and Murong Xiantian were also shocked, their eyes filled with disbelief. I feel that this kid shouldn't be so stupid, right? Could it be that there is some secret in the lake of law? Or does Ling Xiao have something to rely on to survive in the lake of law? Murong Xuantian's eyes revealed a trace of suspicion. If he wants to survive in the lake of law, unless Ling Xiao has a flawless divine tool. But even if he has a flawless divine tool, what's the use of entering the lake of law? I think this kid knows that he is trash and jumped into the lake to commit suicide. Duan Wuji sneered, his eyes filled with schadenfreude. No matter what, if he doesn't come out, I'm afraid he will definitely be eliminated. There is no need for us to do anything. You will definitely win this bet. Murong Xiantian sighed softly. Regardless of what everyone thought, Ling Xiao had already entered the lake of law. Without entering the divine stone or activating the wordless heavenly book, Ling Xiao relied on his own strength to resist the chaotic power of laws in the lake of law. Rumble. A vast power of laws surged toward Ling Xiao, containing an incomparably chaotic power as if it wanted to turn everything into nothingness. Even a true sovereign would avoid the chaotic power of laws. After all, a sovereign expert was only proficient in a certain type of law and could not comprehend all the laws of heaven and earth. At this moment, Ling Xiao looked like he was being cut into pieces. Although his true dragon body was unparalleled, his flesh and blood were peeled off by the lines of laws and instantly turned into nothingness. Devouring Heaven's secret technique, devour. The extreme pain spread, but Ling Xiao did not even frown. Instead, he activated the Devouring Heaven's secret technique and began to devour the chaotic power of laws around him. At this moment, Ling Xiao looked extremely terrifying. The flesh and blood on his body had disappeared, leaving only a golden skeleton and a heart that was emitting 7-colored light, beating slowly. With every beat of his heart, a majestic vitality spread out and swam toward Ling Xiao's body. As for his bones, they shone with a resplendent golden light. They were like golden crystals, and mysterious runes were branded on them, protecting his bones from being corroded and harmed by the power of laws. Rumble. The terrifying and chaotic power of laws was devoured by Ling Xiao and turned into a majestic vitality. Flesh and blood rapidly grew on Ling Xiao's bones, but the moment it appeared, it was obliterated by the chaotic power of laws. Just like that, Ling Xiao's flesh and blood became stronger and stronger as he was continuously reborn and destroyed. Every time his flesh and blood was reborn, they were like glass crystals. There were even powerful nomological law lines imprinted on them, making Ling Xiao's body almost transform into a complete nomological law body. Chapter 832. As the saying goes, destruction leads to reconstruction. Ling Xiao's flesh and blood were being destroyed by the magical laws, but at the same time, he was using the heaven-devouring secret art to devour the chaotic magical laws and convert them into life force quintessence that he could use to create a new fleshly body. The King Heaven Devourer cauldron shone with dazzling light, surrounded by dazzling golden light that transformed into a vortex that devoured the chaotic magical laws within the lake of laws. Whoosh! It was a fish, fully 3 meters long and wreathed in flames. Shockingly, it was a fish with magical laws in the consummate level, and was instantly devoured by the King Heaven Devourer cauldron. Ling Xiao instantly felt the blazing, burning, life, and destructive power of the flames, causing his comprehension of the laws of fire to become even more perfect. A few other fish that were surrounded by dazzling lightning tried to flee, but were also sucked into the Heaven Devourer cauldron. Ling Xiao released the wordless heavenly tome in the Heaven Devourer cauldron, and the Lake of Laws was in complete chaos. Ruyu Yumbo. The originally calm Lake of Laws began to tremble violently. Waves swept out, causing the originally chaotic Lake of Laws to become even more chaotic. Ling Xiao sat cross-legged at the bottom of the Lake of Laws, ignoring everything else as he devoured and refined the chaotic magical laws. What's going on? Everyone outside the Lake of Laws was shocked, and looks of disbelief could be seen on their faces. The originally calm Lake of Law seemed to have gone berserk at this moment. Many people had already sensed the fluctuations of the law fish. Originally, they wanted to draw the law fish out in one go, but this time, it could be considered as a disaster. The magical laws, regardless of whether they were in the minor, greater, or great circle, were fleeing in all directions, as if they had been frightened by something. The Lake of Laws isn't shaking because of that punk Ling Xiao, is it? Duan Wuji said, a look of shock in his eyes. Impossible. The Lake of Law is extremely terrifying. Even if a sovereign expert enters it, their physical body will be assimilated into nothingness. Even if Ling Xiao isn't dead, he's probably hiding in the treasure space. He doesn't have the ability to cause such a huge fluctuation. Murong Xuantian's eyes flashed as he spoke slowly. So what's going on with the Lake of Laws? I feel that even if it wasn't caused by Ling Xiao, it definitely has something to do with him. Duan Wuji said gloomily. Don't worry about that for now. The 24 hours are almost up. The most important thing is to hurry up and attract the law of nature fish. Otherwise, I'm afraid we'll all be eliminated. Murong Xiantian quickly said, trying his best to calm himself down. He began to use the power of his spirit to sense the law fish in the Lake of Law. The successor of the war god Hall also opened his eyes in confusion. There was a sharp glint in his eyes, as if he could see through the entire Lake of Laws. But, in the depths of the Lake of Laws, there was a chaotic and resplendent light regiment, as though it was enveloping a figure, causing him to be unable to see it clearly. Ling Xiao is actually safe and sound in the Lake of Law. The successor of the war god shrine revealed a trace of surprise. After all, only Ling Xiao had jumped into the Lake of Laws. That figure could only be Ling Xiao. I want to see what you're up to. The successor of the war god Hall sneered as he gave off a vast and majestic aura. Rumble. The world trembled as the 3,000 chaotic worlds behind the successor of the war god Hall began to tremble. Wisps of chaotic mist filled the air and instantly probed into the Lake of Laws, frantically seizing the chaotic power of laws in the Lake of Laws. Since you don't care about the rules, then let's use our own methods. The Lotus Emperor glanced at the successor of the war god Hall with a sharp glint in his eyes. The 36th grade chaotic green lotus behind him shot out wisps of green light, similarly seizing the power of laws in the Lake of Laws. Buddhist Kasyapa, Zhao Ritian, Zhu Biao, Qing Yun, Taoist Wu Yang, Long Outyan. Many genius experts threw caution to the wind and began to seize the power of laws in the Lake of Laws. They all knew that the power of law in the Lake of Law was a great opportunity, but Ling Xiao used some unknown method to directly jump into the Lake of Law and even caused such a big commotion. They all did not care and began to use their primordial spirit to devour the power of law. Want to fight with me? Heh. Let's see who's stronger. At the bottom of the Lake of Laws, Ling Xiao's eyes flickered with cold light. He could sense that the successor of the war god Hall was the strongest of them all. With the 3,000 chaotic worlds, and the sacred body of primal chaos, he was making a move on the entire Lake of Laws. Without any hesitation, Ling Xiao drew on the wordless heavenly tome and the Heaven Devourer cauldron. The two precious treasures floated above Ling Xiao's head, shining with dazzling light. They were like two terrifying vortexes that began seizing the power of laws in the hands of the successor of the war god Hall. The Lake of Laws grew more and more violent, almost like a stormy sea. Waves surged as the power of laws filled the sky, causing all sorts of strange phenomena to appear. Flames burned the sky, primal chaos lightning shattered the starry sky, primal chaos green lotuses rose from the blue sea, and suns illuminated the 3,000 worlds in the darkness. Everyone was using various methods to seize the power of laws in the Lake of Laws. Meanwhile, in the heavenly palace in the flowing time god hall, the god general of time slowly opened his eyes, which shone with dazzling light. The wordless heavenly book, it really is the wordless heavenly book. Looks like I wasn't wrong. It's just that this burden is too heavy. I'm afraid you won't be able to bear it. The god general of time sighed as his faint voice echoed throughout the palace. Since that's the case, let me lend you a hand. The god general of time muttered to himself. His eyes flashed as he formed a seal with both hands. A mysterious light pierced through the void around him and headed for the Lake of Laws. Rumble. The Lake of Law seemed to have exploded. Endless primal chaos mist rose, and the incomparably violent power of law surged towards Ling Xiao. Under the refinement of the power of laws, countless mysterious lines were branded on Ling Xiao's flesh. After fusing with a large amount of life essence, they instantly condensed into a brand new body. Ling Xiao's body was sparkling and flawless. His vitality was monstrous, but it was also filled with a layer of primal chaos light. It was as if countless laws of the world were intertwining on his body, making him seem even more mysterious. A gleam of light flashed through Ling Xiao's eyes. He could sense that an external force had helped him earlier, allowing him to devour and refine a large amount of the power of laws in an instant. Otherwise, with Ling Xiao's strength, it would have been impossible for his body to undergo such a powerful transformation in 24 hours. Chapter 833. However, while Ling Xiao was devouring the power of laws, the people outside the Lake of Laws were in trouble. The power of laws in the Lake of Laws was rapidly decreasing. Originally, many geniuses had rapidly increased their comprehension of the laws of heaven and earth. They had already locked onto the fish of perfect laws and were about to pull them out. However, Ling Xiao's action caused the entire Lake of Laws to fluctuate violently. Many geniuses instantly lost their sense of the fish of laws. Bastard, what's going on? It must be Ling Xiao's doing. What is he trying to do? Is he trying to stop all of us from passing the stage? No, time is almost up. Everyone, hurry up and settle the score with Ling Xiao after we pass. Many geniuses revealed furious expressions. Some even directly attributed the huge change in the Lake of Laws to Ling Xiao. After all, only Ling Xiao had jumped into the Lake of Laws. The 24-hour time limit was almost up. The successor of the war god temple, Buddhist Kasyapa, Emperor Qing, Zhao Ritian, and the others all used the power of their primordial spirits to pull out countless fish of perfect laws. Duan Wuji and Murong Xiantian were very unlucky. The fish of laws that their primordial spirits had sensed all slipped away. In the end, they barely managed to catch a fish of perfect laws with the help of the successor of the war god temple. According to the normal process, at least 1,000 people should have passed the second stage and caught a fish of perfect laws. However, because of Ling Xiao's interference, only 500 or so people managed to catch a fish of perfect laws. Those who were about to be eliminated were all furious and vented their anger on Ling Xiao. You trash, you're incompetent and you dare to blame my cousin? If he had the ability to disturb the Lake of Laws, he would have eliminated all of you long ago. You must know that the War God Temple is hosting the Heaven's Choice Convention. Even if someone is causing trouble, the War God Temple is the most suspicious. Why don't you have the guts to look for that person? Long Outyan sneered as his gaze fell on the successor of the War God Temple. Everyone's expression froze. Although the Heaven's Choice Convention was hosted by the War God Temple, many people still thought that Ling Xiao was the most suspicious. After all, nothing had happened before Ling Xiao jumped into the Lake of Laws. However, something had happened after he jumped into the Lake of Laws. Everyone, I think Ling Xiao is definitely behind this. He's a piece of trash himself, so he must be unwilling to let his Yuan spirit radiate out. Later, when we meet the Divine General of Time, we should all work together and have the Divine General of Time kill him. Duan Wuji sneered. That's right. Ling Xiao is the most suspicious. He's the one who disrupted the order of the Heavenly Selection Convention. Damn it. Murong Xuantian's eyes flashed with a cold glint. Rumble. Just as everyone was filled with righteous indignation, the lake of law shone dazzlingly, the lake water parted to the sides, and Ling Xiao held a 3-meter-long red fish in his palm, slowly walking out of the lake of law. At this moment, Ling Xiao's aura was different. His entire body was flawless, and his primordial spirit was extremely pure. It was as if he could pass through the tribulation of the 4 symbols at any time if he wanted to. Ling Xiao actually caught a fish with perfected laws of nature. Everyone was dumbfounded. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. Ling Xiao's primordial spirit radiated out 3 meters. He was simply a piece of trash among trash. Everyone thought that he would definitely be eliminated, but he actually walked out of the lake of law just like that. The fish with perfected laws in his hand looked so dazzling. Especially Duan Wuji and Murong Xiantian, their faces instantly became extremely gloomy. It was as if their parents had died. This meant that Ling Xiao had passed the 2nd stage of the Lake of Law, and Duan Wuji had completely lost. However, the geniuses who hadn't caught a fish with perfected laws immediately looked unfriendly. Ling Xiao, are you messing with us? Are you the one who caused the great change in the Lake of Law? Why are you stopping everyone from passing? Ling Xiao, your intentions are too sinister. Do you think that you'll be able to reach the end after eliminating so many competitors? With a piece of trash like you, even if you're lucky enough to pass the 2nd stage, you'll definitely be eliminated in the 3rd stage. Ling Xiao, you have to give us an explanation. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite. Everyone walked toward Ling Xiao with righteous indignation. Each of them exuded an incomparably powerful aura, as if they would attack Ling Xiao at any moment. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, a trace of mockery in his eyes. Ling Xiao, you still have the face to smile. If you weren't despicable and shameless, how could so many people have been eliminated? Ling Xiao, you can't atone for your sins even if you die 100 times. Duan Wuji pointed at Ling Xiao and scolded him righteously. Trash. Ling Xiao said indifferently. This word immediately angered everyone. A young genius looked at Ling Xiao and questioned, Bastard, who are you calling trash? Ling Xiao glanced at everyone and said indifferently, Sorry, I didn't make it clear. I said that you're all trash. You don't have the ability to catch fish, so you blame others? Why were they able to catch fish and pass the stage? You can't do it, so I can only say that you're trash. And you, Duan Wuji. If I'm not wrong, you've already lost this bet, right? You still have the face to shout here. Big idiot. Ling Xiao emphasized the last 3 words, causing Duan Wuji's face to turn red like a pig's liver. He looked at Ling Xiao with eyes full of hatred. Furthermore, Ling Xiao's statement that they were all trash made everyone explode with anger. Arrogant, too arrogant. Ling Xiao, you're too arrogant. Do you really think you can deal with so many of us by yourself? Why are you still wasting words with him? Let's kill Ling Xiao together. Everyone's eyes were filled with anger, and they looked at Ling Xiao with murderous intent. My cousin is right. You're all trash. You don't have the ability to pass the stage, and you still have the face to blame others? If it were me, I would have killed myself already. How shameless. Long Outyen, Daoist Wuyang, and the others stepped forward with vigilant expressions and sneered at the crowd. In the distance, the successor of the war god shrine, Buddhist monk Kasayapa, and the others all looked on coldly. They didn't care about what was happening here, and they were still making use of the remaining time to refine the power of laws. The Lake of Laws was an unparalleled opportunity. Cultivating here for a day was equivalent to cultivating for 100 years in the outside world. It was laughable that these so-called geniuses had missed such a great opportunity because of personal feelings. just as a conflict was about to erupt. However, the time to pass the Lake of Laws was up. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Chapter 834. The light in front of everyone's eyes changed and they appeared in the palace of the second layer of heaven. The god of time also appeared in front of everyone. Congratulations to everyone for passing the second layer of the Lake of Law. There are a total of 537 people who passed the second layer. You have 2 hours to rest and then you will proceed to the third layer. The god of time glanced at everyone and said. As soon as the god of time finished speaking, Duan Wuji jumped out and said, Lord God of Time, Ling Xiao deliberately destroyed the Lake of Law and caused many people to be eliminated. This is a heinous crime. He simply doesn't put you in his eyes. Lord God of Time, please kill Ling Xiao as a warning to others. That's right, Lord God of Time. I can also testify that if it wasn't for Ling Xiao, even more people would have passed the second layer. Ling Xiao has sinister intentions and is despicable and shameless. He truly deserves to be killed. Murong Xuantian's eyes flashed with a cold light as he said indifferently. Long Outyan laughed anxiously and suddenly sneered. He pointed at Duan Wuji's nose and said, Duan Wuji, you despicable and shameless thing. You're really the first to complain. What evidence do you have to prove that my cousin destroyed the Lake of Law? Lord God of Time didn't say anything. Who do you think you are? You dare to make a decision for Lord God of Time? Daoist Wuliang also glanced at Duan Wuji and sneered, Duan Wuji, do you need me to remind you? You've already lost our bet. Now, in front of Lord God of Time, can you fulfill the bet? If Duan Wuji really knelt down and shouted, I'm a big idiot, 3 times, he would probably become the laughingstock of the entire War God continent. Even Kunlun Mountain would be humiliated because of him. This would become the shame of Duan Wuji's life. Duan Wuji's face suddenly became extremely ugly. He was afraid that Daoist Wuliang would mention the bet, so he jumped out first to complain. In the end, Daoist Wuliang still said it. Duan Wuji coldly snorted and didn't say anything. Everyone looked at the God of Time, wanting to see how he would deal with this. If the God of Time really got angry and killed Ling Xiao, then the people who were with Ling Xiao would probably end up in an extremely ugly state. The God of Time looked very calm. His expression couldn't be seen but his eyes were incomparably indifferent, as if there were no fluctuations of emotion. Right at this moment, the successor of the War God Hall stepped forward. Lord Divine General, I can testify for Duan Wuji. Ling Xiao has indeed broken the order of the Lake of Laws, causing many people to be eliminated early. The successor of the War God Temple said indifferently. Everyone's expression changed slightly. The successor of the War God Temple wanted to kill Ling Xiao. After all, the Time General was a member of the War God Temple. Needless to say, he would help the successor of the War God Temple. In that case, wouldn't Ling Xiao have no chance at all? At this moment, the Time General spoke faintly. The Lake of Law has not been disturbed by anyone. This is a scene that will inevitably appear when you are comprehending the laws of heaven and earth. As soon as the Time General spoke, everyone was stunned. What did the Time General mean by this? He was actually helping Ling Xiao. The successor of the War God Hall took a deep look at the Divine General of Time but didn't say anything. Therefore, Ling Xiao did not destroy the order of the Lake of Law. The Time General slowly said. Ha ha ha. I knew it. The Divine General is in charge of the Heavenly Selection Assembly. He knows the situation of every stage. Is there a need for you to tell him? Duan Wuji, what else do you have to say? Hurry up and fulfill the bet. The Divine General is the witness. Don't tell me you want to go back on your word. Long Outyan guffawed and glanced at Duan Wuji. Duan Wuji's expression instantly turned incomparably unsightly. At this moment, even Murong Xiantian didn't dare speak. He could also see that the Time General was clearly helping Ling Xiao. What he didn't understand was that the Time General had chosen to help Ling Xiao even though the successor of the War God Temple had spoken. What was going on? Many people sensed that something was amiss and wisely chose to remain silent. Divine General, Duan Wuji didn't want to give up. He wanted to say something, but the Divine General of Time interrupted him. Duan Wuji, fulfill the bet. A powerful and terrifying aura emanated from the Time General's body and pressed down on Duan Wuji. It seemed that if Duan Wuji dared to refuse, the Time General would attack him in the next moment. Duan Wuji was extremely unwilling and his eyes were filled with resentment and humiliation. However, he knew that he was riding a tiger and couldn't get off. He couldn't go back on his word even if he wanted to. All right. I, Duan Wuji, am a man of my word. I will fulfill the bet. Duan Wuji glared at Ling Xiao, Taoist Wuliang, and Long Outyen and directly knelt down with a thump. I'm a big idiot. I'm a big idiot. I'm a big idiot. Duan Wuji clenched his teeth and shouted 3 times in a row. His face was as red as a pig's liver and his hatred for Ling Xiao, Taoist Wuliang, and Long Outyen had reached its peak. You really know your place. Scram. Long Outyen sneered. He didn't care about the hatred in Duan Wuji's eyes at all. Duan Wuji was completely silent. His entire body exuded an incomparably cold aura as he stood to the side without saying a word. Everyone's eyes were filled with shock, and the way they looked at Ling Xiao changed. Although the Divine General of Time said that the matter of the Lake of Laws had nothing to do with Ling Xiao, they weren't fools. They all faintly felt that the matter of the Lake of Laws had something to do with Ling Xiao. However, the Divine General of Time was so biased towards Ling Xiao, which made them feel that something was wrong. 2 hours quickly passed. Rumble. The gate of the 3rd layer of heaven opened and everyone turned into streams of light and flew towards the 3rd layer of heaven. Light shone in front of them and everyone appeared on an ancient battle platform. The 3rd stage, Enlightenment Platform. On the Enlightenment Platform, there were many kinds of martial arts light balls. Everyone's original martial arts would be sealed. They could only comprehend new martial arts light balls from the Enlightenment Platform and then cultivate on the Enlightenment Platform. The Enlightenment Platform would condense a martial arts clone of the same level as the cultivator. If the cultivator could use the new martial arts and defeat the martial arts clone within a year, they would pass the stage. Everyone had 3 chances. If they failed all 3 chances or couldn't complete it within a year, they would be eliminated. The Enlightenment Platform. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. This Enlightenment Platform was pretty interesting. One had to rely entirely on one's affinity with martial arts to sense martial arts. Then, one had to cultivate to the Great Perfection realm within a year and defeat the martial arts doppelganger. Countless resplendent light balls floated in front of Ling Xiao. Each light ball represented a powerful martial art. Ling Xiao could feel that his cultivation was being restrained by the power of laws. Chapter 835. Within those light balls, there were powerful ancient martial arts. There was no lack of paragon martial arts and even divine martial arts. The martial arts that were comprehended on the Enlightenment Platform would eventually become a part of one's strength. If one chose a weaker martial art, they would be able to pass this stage. However, in the face of so many powerful martial arts, many people would be unwilling to give up. Therefore, this stage not only tested one's comprehension, but also the wisdom of one's choice. A year's time wasn't short, but it wasn't long either. Especially for those powerful paragon martial arts, it would take years or even decades to cultivate them to perfection. Not to mention the divine martial arts. If one didn't know enough about himself and chose a powerful divine martial art, if he couldn't cultivate it to perfection within a year, not only would he be eliminated, he wouldn't be able to take this martial art away. Only by cultivating a martial art to perfection could it become a part of one's strength. Ling Xiao's primordial spirit entered the light balls of martial arts above his head. Mysterious and powerful martial arts appeared before him. Great Sun Immemorial Scripture, Chaotic Heaven Opening Palm, Aurora Sword Scripture, Sky Origin Godly Sword, Buddha's Palm. Ling Xiao could see that the light balls of martial arts were densely packed. There were more than tens of thousands of powerful martial arts. Among them, the weakest was a heaven-class martial art. They were like stars in the sky, bright and dazzling. There were tens of thousands of them. As for the paragon martial arts, they were like a bright full moon. There were a total of 3,000 paragon martial arts. Above the paragon martial arts, there were 108 divine martial arts. For example, the Great Sun Immemorial Scripture, Chaotic Heaven Opening Palm, Buddha's Palm, etc. They were all divine martial arts. What is that? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. Above the god-tier martial arts, there were actually 3 resplendent balls of light. They were even more resplendent than the sun, emitting an incomparably mysterious fluctuation. The mysterious fluctuation was even more powerful than the divine martial arts. Aries art. Menstruation. Reverse fate art. These 3 great martial arts emitted a mysterious and eternal energy fluctuation. It was boundless and made people tremble all over when they saw it. They knew that these 3 great martial arts were definitely supreme martial arts that could penetrate the heavens and penetrate the earth. Aries art, could it be the martial arts cultivated by the Scarlet Dragon war god? And menstruation, it's related to the aura of the divine general of time. Could it contain the mystery of time? And the art of reversing fate? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a sharp light. The Aries secret art exuded an unparalleled battle intent. It was a type of invincible battle intent that could break through the heavens and shatter the heavens. As for Sui menstruation, it contained the concept of the flow of time, as if it contained the endless secrets of time. As for the life-reversing technique, it gave Ling Xiao a very strange feeling. The life-reversing technique exuded a very profound fluctuation, which seemed to be related to the secret techniques of fate, but it was also not quite the same. For some reason, when Ling Xiao first saw the life-reversing technique, a voice in his heart told him to choose the life-reversing technique. He had to choose the life-reversing technique. If one wanted to pass the trial, choosing a heaven-class martial art was the safest choice. 1 year was enough to cultivate a heaven-class martial art to perfection. As for some of the top geniuses, they would definitely not be willing to choose a heaven-class martial art. Instead, they would choose a sovereign martial art. As long as their comprehension was strong enough, they would be able to cultivate it to perfection within a year. As for a god-class martial art, it was basically impossible to cultivate it to perfection within a year. Most people would probably not choose a god-class martial art. As for the Aries secret art, Sui menstruation, and life-reversing technique, which surpassed a god-class martial art, it was needless to say. This was because in the third trial, if one could not cultivate the martial art to perfection within a year, their memory of that martial art would be completely erased. Hence, if one was greedy, it was very likely that they would not be able to obtain anything in the end. Ling Xiao guessed that most people would probably choose a sovereign martial art. As for a god-class martial art, almost no one would choose it. However, people like the successor of the Aries Shrine, Buddha Kasyapa, Emperor Qing, Xiao Ritian, and the others might choose a god-class martial art. Life-reversing technique? Then it's you. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. In the end, he decided to listen to his heart and choose the life-reversing technique. Ling Xiao had already obtained the secret techniques of fate. Perhaps it would be helpful when he cultivated the life-reversing technique. Buzz! With the guidance of Ling Xiao's primordial spirit, the ball of resplendent life-reversing technique light instantly turned into a stream of light and merged into Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness. A mysterious scripture appeared in front of Ling Xiao. Mysterious lines of fate intertwined as if they had turned into a resplendent divine glow. It made one feel as if they could not help but be immersed in it. Life reverser, reverse samsara, step on the heavens, shatter yin and yang, return to chaos, burn your life, shatter your fate. The mysterious scripture appeared in Ling Xiao's mind in a very strange way. As the saying went, the human Tao was tangible, but the heavenly Tao was intangible. A person's fate was even more illusory and untouchable. Those who cultivated the life-reversing technique could be called life-reversers. They used extremely strange methods to directly attack a person's fate. They could even burn their own life to borrow unparalleled power from the long river of fate. Ling Xiao had never heard of a method that directly attacked one's fate. It was too strange and mysterious. After all, a person's physical body and primordial spirit were traceable. When the physical body was destroyed and the primordial spirit was destroyed, the living being would turn into ashes. As for what fate was, perhaps even the gods might not be able to answer. The life-reversing technique was indeed extremely strange. Moreover, Ling Xiao's cultivation of the life-reversing technique was surprisingly smooth. There were no obstacles at all. It was as if every time he encountered a bottleneck, the secret technique of fate would help him resolve it. However, the secret technique of fate was completely different from the life-reversing technique. The secret technique of fate was to grasp the trajectory of fate and experience the power of fate. It was to search for the evolution of the long river of fate. In essence, it was a technique of following fate. On the other hand, the life-reversing technique was to reverse fate and shatter fate. It could even use the power of the long river of fate to erupt with all kinds of unbelievable power. In the process of Ling Xiao practicing the life-reversing technique, he also gained a deeper understanding of the secret technique of fate. Time passed by minute by minute. Ling Xiao was immersed in this state of cultivation as if he had forgotten everything. The enlightenment platform shone brightly as if it had turned into a chaotic world that enveloped Ling Xiao. Apart from Ling Xiao, the others also began to cultivate on the enlightenment platform. The successor of the war god Hall chose the primal chaos heaven opening palm, which was the most compatible with his chaotic sacred body. While he was practicing this supreme technique, primal chaos chi lingered around him. Numerous primal chaos palm prints condensed and evolved into mysterious scenes of the world in the primal chaos. Buddhist Kasyapa chose the Buddha's palm. He sat cross-legged in the void like an eternal Buddha. He emitted billions of Buddhist light, illuminating the boundless world. Zhao Ritian chose the Great Sun Immemorial Scripture because he felt that the Great Sun Immemorial Scripture was similar to the Sun Destruction Scripture that he cultivated. It was as if they came from the same source. The combination of the two allowed his cultivation speed to increase by leaps and bounds. Chapter 836. Of course, there were also those who didn't have a strong mental state and chose a heaven-class martial art, hoping to pass the trial in one go. There were also those who overestimated their strength and chose a god-class martial art, wasting their time for no reason. Just as everyone was working hard in the flowing time shrine, cultivating their martial arts. War God Continent. There was a bronze shrine hidden in the chaos. Endless chaos chi filled the air, emitting an ancient and mysterious aura. Kacha. The void seemed to have been torn apart as two terrifying figures, one white and one black, stepped out from the 9 heavens. They seemed to be 2 old men. They emitted a ripple that caused the world to tremble. Within the bronze shrine, dozens of figures with powerful auras flew out at the same time. They bowed respectfully towards the 2 figures, their eyes filled with passion. Subordinate greets Left Reverend and Right Reverend. His loud and clear voice dispersed the surrounding chaotic mist. Rise. Above the 9 heavens, the black-robed old man said indifferently, his eyes filled with a bright light. The 8th Heaven Tao Primal Chaos Tablet has appeared, and Lord War God has already gone to retrieve the 9th Heaven Tao Primal Chaos Tablet. There's a change in the time cave. This time, the inheritor of Scarlet Dragon War God is about to appear. Everyone, let's set up the De Zhou Tian God sealing array and seal the time cave. If Magnificent Sect becomes the inheritor, then so be it. If anyone else becomes the inheritor, kill them all without mercy. The black-robed old man's voice was cold and filled with killing intent. Yes. Dozens of powerful figures said respectfully at the same time. The white-robed old man said indifferently, everyone is the elites of my war god shrine. This time, with the 9 Heaven Tao Primal Chaos Tablets gathered, the door to the God world will open. Everyone will be able to enter the God world and obtain immortality. The Scarlet Dragon War God's inheritance can only be obtained by Magnificent Sect. Everyone, do you understand? Thank you Lord Right Reverend for reminding us. We understand. This time, we'll let them know the strength of my war god shrine. At the front of the crowd, a figure in a green dragon robe said indifferently, his eyes filled with a bright light. What should we do with the divine general of time? A woman in a crimson robe asked hesitantly. The black-robed old man, who was the left holy venerate, was surrounded by terrifying thunderbolts. His eyes were filled with murderous intent as he said faintly, sins committed by the heavens can be forgiven, but sins committed by oneself cannot be forgiven. Yes. Everyone's expression turned solemn as they lowered their heads respectfully. Let's go. The white-robed elder, the right holy master, glanced at the crowd and waved his sleeve. Suddenly, the sky shattered and dozens of powerhouses flew in with the two holy masters. Outside the time cave. Many experts who participated in the Heavenly Choice Convention left the Flowing Time Temple in advance after being eliminated. They even left the time cave. When the news of what had happened in the time cave spread out, the many martial Dao holy lands waiting outside almost boiled with excitement. This was especially true for the thousands of geniuses who were eliminated in the second stage. Many of them were incomparably furious, thinking that it was Ling Xiao who messed up the Lake of Law, causing them to be eliminated early. Many martial Dao Holy Land's sovereigns were furious and some even went to find Long Lai to reason with him. In the end, they were beaten up and thrown out by Long Lai. After that, no one dared to say anything. The most furious person was Kunlun Mountain's vice sect master, Outer Space. The news of the bet between Kunlun Mountain's eldest disciple, Duan Wuji, and Ling Xiao was also spread. In the end, Duan Wuji lost and knelt on the ground while shouting, "I'm a big idiot," 3 times. It was simply a disgrace to Kunlun Mountain and they became the laughingstock of many martial Dao holy lands. However, Outer Space's cultivation was only at the 9th level Supreme Realm and he did not dare to ask Long Lai for an explanation. Instead, he was invited by Star Emperor, the master of Star Palace. That night, Star Palace, Emperor Tomb Mountain, Sky Demon Palace, Nantian family, Kunlun Mountain, and dozens of other martial Dao holy lands who were hostile to Ling Xiao gathered together to discuss something. Because of the matter in the time cave, undercurrents suddenly surged. Long Lai, who was originally sitting cross-legged outside the time cave, slowly opened his eyes and revealed a trace of light. He muttered to himself, secretly plotting against Ling Xiao, "Do you really think I don't know? Since you want to play, I'll play with you." Long Lai gathered experts from Blazing Mountain, Sholua Sect, Sword God Pavilion, Dugu Family, Moon Palace, and other martial Dao holy lands and secretly joined forces. In the time cave, a year passed very quickly. Ling Xiao originally thought that the life-reversing skill was extremely difficult to cultivate. However, after combining it with the secret skill of destiny, he discovered that the life-reversing skill was very smooth. In less than a year, Ling Xiao had comprehended to the complete realm. Although the life-reversing skill was very strange, it was actually far less profound than the secret skill of destiny. In summary, the life-reversing skill only had 3 moves: Shatter Fate, Burn Life, and Defy Fate. The so-called Shatter Fate was to use one's own fate to condense murderous intent and directly attack the enemy's fate. Once the fate was shattered, it would directly vanish into thin air and the entire person would be obliterated. Burn Life was to burn one's own life and release 10 or 100 times the power to attack the enemy's fate. The more life one burned, the stronger the power that would erupt. Defy Fate was to use one's own fate to forcefully reverse the river of fate. It possessed unfathomable power that could destroy the heavens and earth. It wasn't until he cultivated the life-reversing skill that Ling Xiao realized how terrifying this martial art was. It directly attacked one's fate and its methods were extremely strange. Perhaps even a powerful supreme being would be killed by Ling Xiao if they weren't prepared. In terms of lethality and strangeness, the life-reversing skill could be said to be the most powerful martial art that Ling Xiao currently possessed. Although the 7 Limits Divine Art and the Myriad Dragons God-slaying skill were also very terrifying, Supreme Being experts could defend against them if they had powerful means. As for the life-reversing skill, even if one wanted to defend against it, they wouldn't know how to do so. This life-reversing skill can be used as a last resort. It can kill 1,000 people and harm 800 of my own. I can't use it lightly unless it's a critical moment. Ling Xiao's eyes flickered. Using the life-reversing skill wasn't without restrictions. It was based on one's own fate to condense a supreme murderous intent. If Ling Xiao used it without restraint, it wouldn't be long before his fate was exhausted and he would die completely. I choose to challenge. Ling Xiao said in his heart. Suddenly, the enlightenment platform in front of him flickered and a mysterious figure appeared in front of him. It was a very ordinary-looking middle-aged man. He wore a long robe and his eyes were calm. There seemed to be no fluctuations of cultivation around him. Chapter 837. Oh. Who are you? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He found that the middle-aged man in front of him was like a real person, not an avatar condensed by martial arts. You can call me the fate-defying avatar. The middle-aged man smiled faintly. The fate-defying avatar. Are you a martial arts avatar condensed by the fate-defying art? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he asked slowly. You can think of it that way. The middle-aged man smiled faintly. Ling Xiao felt that the middle-aged man in front of him was no different from a real creature. Although he looked extremely ordinary, his whole body exuded an extremely calm aura. It was a kind of indifference and confidence. It was incomparably clean, which Ling Xiao had never seen in anyone else before. So, I have to defeat you to pass the third stage? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he asked slowly. No need. You have already passed the third stage to be able to cultivate the fate-defying art to such a level within a year. However, in order to help you directly feel the power of the 3 moves of the fate-defying art, I will demonstrate them for you. The middle-aged man smiled faintly. Ling Xiao felt a little strange. The fate-defying avatar in front of him not only did not want to fight with him, but also wanted to help him demonstrate the power of the fate-defying art. No matter how he looked at it, it was very strange. However, Ling Xiao did not say anything and nodded slowly. You look good. This is the first move, Shatter Fate. The fate-defying avatar smiled faintly, turned around, and stood on the enlightenment platform. Opposite the fate-defying avatar, there was an extraterrestrial demon exuding a terrifying aura. The extraterrestrial demon was covered in black scales, had a single horn on his head, and sharp claws on his arms. A pair of blood-red eyes stared at the fate-defying avatar. Boom! The body of the fate-defying doppelganger exuded a very mysterious aura. Ling Xiao felt that there was a mysterious light condensing between the eyebrows of the fate-defying doppelganger. It was like a bright divine rainbow, gorgeous to the extreme. In an instant, it shot toward the extraterrestrial demon. The extraterrestrial demon roared, exuding a monstrous evil aura. It turned out to be a 9-star heavenly demon general, comparable to an expert of the 9th level of the Supreme Realm. It rushed toward the fate-defying avatar. Crack! Ling Xiao vaguely heard the sound of something shattering. Then, he saw the brilliant light disappear into the space between the extraterrestrial demon's eyebrows. Then, something that shocked Ling Xiao appeared. The extraterrestrial demon seemed to be frozen. It maintained its attacking posture and remained motionless. Then, it slowly disappeared into the void. As if it had been erased, there was no longer any trace of the extraterrestrial demon in the void. A direct attack on a birth chart. This kind of power can obliterate everything. It's really heaven-defying. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he gained a deeper understanding of the first move of the life-reversing technique. Next is the second move, Burning Life. The voice of the fate-defying doppelganger sounded in Ling Xiao's ears, as if he was giving Ling Xiao advice. In front of the fate-defying clone, an even more powerful extraterrestrial demon appeared. It turned out to be a heavenly demon king, whose combat strength was comparable to that of a titled supreme. The huge figure was tens of thousands of feet tall. Black chi rose from its body, and a dark, evil, and cold evil aura enveloped the entire enlightenment platform. A bright light flashed in the eyes of the fate-defying doppelganger. A layer of red flames rose around him. Ling Xiao could feel that the boundless vitality in the body of the fate-defying doppelganger was completely ignited at this moment. The world trembled, and a power that made Ling Xiao tremble with fear emanated from the body of the fate-defying doppelganger. In an instant, it enveloped the heavenly demon king. The fate-defying doppelganger had just burned about 5,000 years of his life to be able to erupt with such terrifying power. The heavenly demon king, who was roaring and struggling, instantly trembled in the face of this power, and then suddenly exploded. He did not even have the slightest strength to resist. The life-reversing technique was so terrifying. The third move, defying fate. The voice of the fate-defying doppelganger also became a little solemn. He said slowly, defying fate is to use the human Tao to defeat the heavenly Tao, to use the human Tao to operate the heavenly Tao, and to use the human Tao to go against the heavenly Tao. This move cannot be used lightly. It is a move to perish together with the enemy. Rumble. The sky trembled, and the void above the enlightenment platform cracked open. Chaotic mist filled the air, as if an eternal and immortal river of fate had descended. Lines of fate filled the air, and the fate-defying doppelganger turned into a bright light, merging into the mysterious river. A power that could shatter the world and split the chaos descended. The figures of the extraterrestrial demons that had just appeared around the fate-defying doppelganger all disappeared without a trace. It was as if they had been directly erased by some great existence, completely disappearing. Since you've chosen the life-reversing technique, your future has been closely linked to the river of fate. I can't see through it, but I believe that perhaps you can reach the final step. Work hard, young man. The faint sigh of the fate-defying doppelganger sounded on the enlightenment platform, and then he instantly disappeared into the void. Ling Xiao's eyes trembled, and he was still immersed in the final terrifying power of the life-reversing technique. Crack. The void in front of him shattered, and Ling Xiao directly passed the third stage, appearing in a palace in the third heaven. I'm afraid the fate-defying doppelganger is not a simple martial art doppelganger. Could it be a primordial spirit brand left behind by some great existence? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he guessed the true identity of the fate-defying doppelganger. Hey, you also passed the third stage. I thought you were going to be eliminated. A slightly surprised voice sounded. The palace in the third heaven looked very empty, and only the successor of the war god hall was sitting cross-legged in it. There was still a month before the one-year deadline, and Ling Xiao did not expect the successor of the war god hall to come out. After all, on the enlightenment platform, one could comprehend powerful martial arts and hone one's combat strength. It was a rare opportunity, and many people would probably persist until the last moment. Thank you for your concern. How could I be eliminated if I didn't reach the 9th stage? As for you, I hope to see you in the 9th stage. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he glanced at the successor of the war god hall. The 9th stage. The ignorant are fearless. You don't know what the 9th stage is. Don't worry, even if you are lucky enough to reach the end, I will personally eliminate you. The successor of the war god hall said indifferently. Then let's give it a try. Ling Xiao smiled faintly, found a corner to sit down, and began to meditate with his eyes closed. A month's time passed quickly, and people passed the third stage one after another and came to the palace in the third heaven. In the end, there were a total of 501 people who passed the third stage, and only a few dozen people were eliminated. Most of them were overconfident people who chose powerful martial arts, or people who wasted 3 chances and still could not defeat the martial art doppelganger. However, overall, the third stage was very easy. As long as one chose conservatively, they could pass the stage easily. Taoist Wuliang, Long Outyan, Long Zhantian, Phoenix Girl, Yueshan, and others who were with Ling Xiao passed the third stage safely without any accidents. Moreover, each of them had a powerful aura. It seemed that they had gained a lot from this year's cultivation. Chapter 838. After passing the third stage, everyone clearly heaved a sigh of relief. There was even a trace of anticipation on their faces. Ling Xiao, the first 3 trials of the Heaven's Choice Convention can be said to be the most difficult. Out of the hundreds of thousands of experts, only 501 were able to pass the first 3 trials. However, the 4th to 6th trials aren't that difficult. Moreover, these 3 trials contain great fortunes. Many people came for these 3 trials. As long as they can pass the middle 3 trials, they can at least pass the 3 divine tribulations. Phoenix Maiden explained. Ling Xiao hadn't participated in the Heaven's Choice Convention before, so he didn't know much about the 9 trials. Through Phoenix Maiden's explanation, Ling Xiao understood that the 4th trial was the Divine Power trial, the 5th was the Vitality trial, and the 6th was the Primordial Spirit trial. They corresponded to the 3 treasures of essence, vitality, and spirit. As long as one could pass the middle 3 trials, their essence, vitality, and spirit would be perfect. Passing the 3 divine tribulations would be a piece of cake. Many people, after passing the middle 3 trials, condense the 3 flowers above their head and 5 chi in their chest, directly passing the 4 divine tribulations. No wonder everyone was looking forward to the middle 3 trials. Not long after, the Divine General of Time appeared and the 4th trial was successfully opened. In the Divine Power trial, everyone's magic power and primordial spirit were sealed. They could only use their physical strength. There were many powerful demonic beasts, extraterrestrial demons, and even primordial variants. They all had the same cultivation as the challenger, but their physical strength could be stronger. In the Divine Power trial, one had to last 9 days to pass. Every time one killed a monster in the Divine Power trial, one would be able to absorb the monster's flesh and blood. This would strengthen one's physical body and even break through the limit. After Ling Xiao entered the Divine Power trial, he discovered that this was a vast and ancient world. As if sensing Ling Xiao's aura, many powerful demonic beasts immediately charged at him. Each of them was a half-step demon venerable comparable to the 3 divine tribulations. Good timing. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. His body instantly emitted a dazzling golden light. He was like a blazing sun in the void as he charged at the demonic beasts. Bang! A tiger-shaped demonic beast was blown apart by Ling Xiao's punch. Immediately, a trace of golden blood spread out and merged into Ling Xiao's body. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. His physical body had already reached the pinnacle, and his true dragon body could be considered a small success. However, after absorbing that sliver of golden blood qi, his body had actually strengthened slightly. This golden blood actually contains a trace of divinity. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. After the beasts were killed, the golden blood qi was like the blood of a god. Although it was very weak, it was extremely pure. Ling Xiao immediately began to kill all kinds of demonic beasts without restraint, continuously condensing golden blood and qi. When he killed 10,000 Yao beasts, the 10,000 strands of golden qi and blood actually turned into a drop of golden blood. It instantly merged into Ling Xiao's body, causing his true dragon body to improve again. After condensing the true dragon body, every bit of improvement was extremely slow. Ling Xiao estimated that at his current speed, he would need to cultivate for at least 100 years before he could master the true dragon body. However, this drop of golden blood was equivalent to a month of his usual hard work. Since that's the case, let the hunt begin. Ling Xiao's eyes glittered as though he didn't know what exhaustion was. Turning into a killing machine, he sent the King Heaven Devourer cauldron flying toward the demonic beasts. Ruyuumble. As the demonic beasts were killed, they transformed into golden blood qi, which Ling Xiao absorbed. That was why Ling Xiao dared to kill so many demonic beasts. After all, these demonic beasts were no different from real demonic beasts. As the saying goes, enough ants can bite an elephant to death. Ordinary geniuses would be surrounded and forced to flee like rats. With the King Heaven Devourer cauldron, Ling Xiao could use the devouring heavens, exterminating earth, and the myriad dragons god-slaughtering art to kill the demonic beasts with incredible speed. Whether it was demonic beasts, extraterritorial heaven devils, or xenogeniacs, none of them were a match for him. And thus, More and more drops of golden blood were forming inside of Ling Xiao. As his fleshly body grew stronger, the power of his myriad dragons' god-slaughtering art grew more and more terrifying. Starting from the 49th true dragon, Ling Xiao had actually cultivated the 10,000 dragons god-slaying technique to the point where he could unleash 81 true dragons with a single palm strike. The might of the dragons was vast and unstoppable. In total, Ling Xiao had formed 360 drops of golden blood, which he absorbed, causing his true dragon physique to advance by leaps and bounds. In fact, his fleshly body power had almost doubled. Of course, Ling Xiao passed the 4th level without any problems. Next was the 5th level of vital energy. Like before, he could only use his true vitality and magical power. His fleshly body and nascent divinity were both sealed. In the vital chi stage, one had to kill powerful demonic beasts formed from divine power. After killing these powerful demonic beasts, one could condense traces of divine power to expand the Dantian's chi si and strengthen one's true essence dharma power. The 6th level of vital energy was the same. However, he had to use the power of vital energy to fight against powerful demonic beasts and even battle spirits. Similarly, he could absorb powerful soul energy after killing them. From the 4th to the 6th level, only one of the 501 people were eliminated. In the end, 400 people made it to the 7th level. Moreover, in these 3 levels, everyone had obtained supreme fortune. Their essence, energy, and spirit were all as one. Everyone had actually passed the tribulation of 3 symbols. Even Long Outyen, Phoenix Maiden, and Yueshin had become the strongest of the tribulation of 3 symbols. Ling Xiao had not broken through and was still facing the tribulation of 3 symbols. However, with his current realm, as long as he wanted to break through, he could break through to the tribulation of 4 symbols at any time. 400 powerful and terrifying experts stood in front of the 7th level. Everyone's expression became incomparably solemn. The 7th level could be said to be a watershed. In every Heaven's Choice convention, no more than 3 people could pass the 7th level. It could be said that 99% of people would be eliminated in the 7th level. The 7th level was the 4-spirit gate. After the 4-spirit gate, there were 4 gatekeepers. They were the 4 divine generals under War God Scarlet Dragon, Demon Saint, Spirit Sovereign, Buddhist Lord, and Yueshin. In order to pass the 4-spirit gate, there were 2 conditions. The first was to defeat any one of the 4 divine generals in the same realm. The second was to last 3 breaths of time under the joint attack of the 4 divine generals without being defeated. Chapter 839. Under the joint attack of the 4 great godly generals, it was even more difficult to last 3 breaths. Although 3 breaths seemed short, when experts fought, it was almost instantaneous. To be able to withstand the joint attack of the 4 great godly generals in the same realm was probably enough to look down on the world, let alone last 3 breaths. To be able to last 3 breaths meant that one had the strength to fight any 2 of the 4 great godly level experts to a draw. This was something that was almost impossible. However, there was one good thing. As long as one passed the test within a month, there was no limit to the number of times one could challenge the 4 great godly generals. Even if one failed 100 times, as long as one won once, it would be considered a success. Everyone, it's time to test your talents. Anyone who passes the 7th test will receive a supreme weapon and a supreme pill. So, work hard. The divine general of time floated in the void and looked at the 400 figures in front of him with a bright light in his eyes. Rumble. The palace of the 7th heaven suddenly opened, and a bright light illuminated the chaos, spewing out endless divine light as if it led to the realm of gods. I will definitely pass the 7th test. Let's go. Everyone's eyes were filled with fervor and determination as they flew towards the 7th test. Although they knew that the 7th stage was very difficult, everyone's heart was filled with lofty aspirations. Is this like raising venomous insects? The first 3 tests one's potential, the middle 3 tests one's opportunities, and the last 3 tests really stimulate one's potential? A look of understanding flashed across Ling Xiao's eyes as he soared into the air and flew towards the 7th stage. Rumble. Ling Xiao appeared in a bright starry sky, surrounded by dazzling stars. A vast river of stars extended into the distance, emitting an eternal and indestructible aura. Please choose your opponent, Demon Saint, Spiritual Supremacy, Buddha Lord, Moon Mother. The Divine General of Time's voice appeared in Ling Xiao's mind, but it had a mechanical fluctuation, as if it was programmed in advance. There were 2 conditions to pass the 3rd test. Defeat one of the 4 great godly generals, and last 3 breaths under the joint attack of the 4 great spiritual supremacies. As long as one could fulfill these 2 conditions within a month, they would pass the test. Therefore, many people would choose to take turns to challenge the 4 great godly generals, and then choose the one who could win in the end and find a way to defeat him. After all, many people did not know the true strength of the 4 great divine generals. Even if they were at the same level, they would most likely lose. 4 great godly generals. I want to see how strong the 4 great divine generals under the Scarlet Dragon War God are. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a strong fighting spirit, and his entire body exuded a peerless sharpness. Ling Xiao wasn't afraid of anyone in the same realm. Not to mention the 4 great godly generals, Ling Xiao even had the confidence to fight the Scarlet Dragon War God. I choose Yao Saint. Ling Xiao said in his heart. Rumble. The surrounding starlight was dazzling. The sky trembled. Runes of laws condensed. A light flashed in front of Ling Xiao and an old man with white hair and beard appeared. He looked very ordinary. His eyes were filled with vicissitudes of life and wisdom. He looked at Ling Xiao indifferently. He was the old goat's father, the former leader of the demon race, Demon Saint. Young friend Ling, we meet again. Demon Saint's eyes flashed as he looked at Ling Xiao with a smile. You recognize me? Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. Although the Demon Saint in front of him was only a primordial spirit imprint, he condensed the body of the tribulation of 3 symbols. His cultivation aura was exactly the same as Ling Xiao's. The primordial spirit imprint in the holy ground has disappeared. I can already sense everything in the holy ground. Young friend Ling is a genius and has already surpassed this old man. Demon Saint smiled faintly. Senior is too polite. If an N knows that you left a primordial spirit imprint here, I'm afraid she will definitely come to see you. Ling Xiao said slowly. Although the old goat seemed to be joking and scolding, he had the sensitive heart of a child. And Demon Saint had always been an existence that the old goat was unwilling to mention. And is he okay? With young friend Ling taking care of him, this old man can be at ease. Demon Saint sighed softly. He's fine. Senior, don't worry. He's my good brother. I will take good care of him. Ling Xiao nodded and said. Thank you, young friend Ling. Young friend Ling, since you've come this far, and I have nothing to offer you in return, I'll show you what I know about the heaven-devouring secret magic. Demon Saint looked at Ling Xiao and smiled. Many thanks, Senior. Ling Xiao said, his eyes glittering. The heaven-devouring secret magic was the ultimate secret magic of the Taotais, and contained the secrets of devouring heaven and devouring earth. Although Ling Xiao had lived 2 lives, his enlightenment of the heaven-devouring secret magic couldn't compare to Demon Saint's. Demon Sage smiled coolly. The heaven-devouring secret art is ranked 14th among the 36 empyreans of heaven and earth, and contains boundless good fortune. Young friend Ling, since you already have the Heaven Devourer Cauldron, why don't I show you how to use it? Rumble. Demon Saint pulsed with a powerful aura, and the Heaven-Devouring Cauldron floated above his head, surrounded by black light and an aura that seemed capable of devouring heaven and earth. The Heaven-Devouring Cauldron can devour flesh, blood, true energy, and nascent divinities. It can also devour the enemy's divine abilities, moves, longevity, and destiny. Demon Saint took a step forward, causing rumbling sounds to echo out as the heaven-devouring cauldron appeared around him like a suit of armor, pulsing with mysterious, enigmatic designs. Attack me. Demon Saint said with a faint smile. All right. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed and powerful blood qi spread out from his body. He punched out and the roars of dragons shook the sky. 49 true dragons filled the sky and pounced towards the Demon Saint, containing a monstrous murderous aura. The myriad dragons god-slaughtering art of the dragon folk? Bring it on. Demon Saint's eyes glittered, and he began to shine with dazzling light. Magical symbols appeared on the surface of the heaven-devouring cauldron, and as the 49 true dragons closed in, the sound of metal striking metal rang out. Ryuumble. Heaven and earth trembled as the heaven-devouring cauldron transformed into an enormous vortex that sucked in the 49 true dragons. He's turning offense into defense? Ling Zhao's eyes glittered as he realized that the stronger the attack, the stronger the defense of the heaven-devouring cauldron. Just this point alone was enough to make the demon sage invincible. Ryuumble. Ling Zhao unleashed dozens of fist strikes in quick succession, causing the stars in the sky to explode. And yet, the heaven-devouring cauldron devoured them all. Demon Saint didn't even move. Ling Zhao's terrifying attacks were completely ineffective against him. It's not just defense. It's also stellar transposition. Demon Saint's eyes flickered as a terrifying power erupted from the heaven-devouring cauldron. Roar! Dragon roars shook the heavens, and heaven and earth trembled. There were actually hundreds of true dragons roaring and pouncing towards Ling Zhao. And yet, the heaven-devouring cauldron was fighting back with even more terrifying power. Demon Saint didn't even use any of his own power. He was using the heaven-devouring cauldron to deflect Ling Zhao's attack. Ling Zhao's eyes flashed. He felt that the Demon Saint's rebounding attack was actually 10 times stronger than his previous punch. Although Ling Zhao could deflect attacks, and even devour them, he couldn't do it as freely as Demon Saint could. Chapter 840. Rumble. Down below in the starry sky, Demon Sage had the King Heaven Devourer cauldron floating above his head, shining with dazzling light like a black hole that sucked in all of the incoming attacks. Thanks to Demon Sage's demonstration, Ling Zhao gained a much deeper understanding of the King Heaven Devourer cauldron. As it turned out, the heaven-devouring secret magic had even more uses than he had imagined. Not only could the King Heaven Devourer cauldron devour attacks, but it could also devour the life force and longevity of its enemies. So this is how the heaven-devouring secret technique works. Ling Zhao's eyes were bright. He had lived 2 lives, and in his previous life, he was the #1 supreme being in the world. He had cultivated the sky-devouring secret skill to perfection, but it was still not as good as the Demon Saint. According to Ling Zhao's speculation, the 9-tailed fox was already a divine elite, but the 9-tailed fox was a subordinate of the Demon Saint. He was afraid that even among the divine spirits, the Demon Saint was considered the strongest. For such a person to personally guide Ling Zhao in the cultivation of the heaven-devouring secret skill, he had benefited greatly. Just like that, Ling Zhao and the Demon Saint comprehended the heaven-devouring secret technique as they fought for half a month. Ling Zhao's comprehension of the heaven-devouring secret technique reached an extremely profound level. Only now did Ling Zhao realize how powerful the Demon Saint was. Even if they were at the same level, Ling Zhao would have to use all his trump cards if he wanted to defeat the Demon Saint. It would not be that easy. The 4 great divine generals under the Scarlet Dragon War God were indeed extraordinary. Alright, young friend Ling, I've already passed on all my insights into the heaven-devouring secret technique to you. Next, you can choose to continue to challenge the spiritual venerable, the Buddha Lord, and the Moon Mother. However, the 3 of them did not leave any primordial spirit imprint. They only have their fighting instincts. Of course, you can also choose to be besieged by the 4 of us. As long as you can persist for 3 breaths of time, you'll be considered to have passed. Beast Saint smiled faintly. The spiritual sage, the Buddha Lord, and the Moon Mother only have battle instincts. Ling Zhao's eyes revealed a hint of disappointment. He had originally wanted to ask the spiritual elder about her relationship with Jin Se, but it seemed that he would not be able to do so. The 4 great godly generals were led by the Demon Saint. If Ling Xiao could defeat the demon saint, he would naturally be able to defeat the other three great godly generals. No need. I choose to be besieged by the four godly generals, Ling Xiao said slowly. Moreover, a strong battle intent spread out. Ling Xiao wanted to see how strong the four divine generals were when they joined forces. Good. Ling Xiao, even though you'll pass if you persist for 3 breaths, I advise you to persist for as long as possible. It'll be very beneficial for you. Beast Saint smiled faintly. Wang. With a flash of light, 3 more figures appeared beside the demon overlord. When Ling Xiao saw the spiritual elder, his heart couldn't help but tremble. The spiritual senior seemed to be shrouded in a bright light. She wore a red dress and had a peerless appearance. Her temperament was extraordinary. She looked exactly the same as Jin Sei, except that she had an additional coldness that looked down on the world. Although she looked exactly like Jin Sei, Ling Xiao knew that the person in front of him was a spiritual venerable, not Jin Sei. The other figure wore a moon-white robe. She was peerless and looked like a goddess from the 9 heavens. She exuded an otherworldly aura and looked very similar to the moon goddess. It was the Moon Mother. Finally, there was an ancient monk wearing a kasaya. His palms were placed together, and his entire body emitted an incomparably profound Zen intent. His eyes were clear, and his appearance was solemn. This was the Buddhist Lord. Buddha Lord. It's actually him. Ling Xiao was shocked. When he saw the Buddha Lord's face, his heart couldn't help but tremble slightly. The Buddha Lord in front of him was actually the demon Buddha that Ling Xiao met in the 8 Desolation region. Speaking of which, the 4 divine generals more or less had an inexplicable relationship with Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao, I mainly cultivate the sky-devouring secret skill. The spiritual elder mainly cultivates the sword principle. The Buddha Lord mainly cultivates the indestructible body of Vajra and the vital spirit secret skill. The Moon Mother mainly cultivates the lunar divine way. Next, the 4 of us will attack you at the same time. Be careful. The demon overlord glanced at Ling Xiao and said slowly. Senior, thank you for your reminder. Please make your move. Ling Xiao's eyes also revealed a trace of strong fighting spirit. Although the 4 divine generals in front of him were only half-supremes with the same cultivation as Ling Xiao, the threat that they exuded was even more terrifying than a supreme being. Rumble. The 4 divine generals exuded an incomparably terrifying aura at the same time. They separated into 4 directions and locked onto Ling Xiao, who was in the center. Let's fight. The fighting spirit in Ling Xiao's eyes rose to the extreme, and he took the lead to attack. Rumble. He was surrounded by golden clouds, and the dragon power spread out. He was like a dazzling divine sun, gorgeous to the extreme. In an instant, he shot up into the sky like a golden light. Roar. A series of dragon roars exploded in the starry sky. Ling Xiao descended from the 9 heavens and slammed down with his palm. Immediately, 81 true dragons soared through the sky and gathered together, enveloping the 4 great divine generals below. Great! The demon overlord's eyes flashed sharply, and he instantly attacked. He slammed his palm across the sky, and the black divine light was like a vortex, instantly pulling in more than a dozen true dragons and turning them into ashes. Crack! The Buddha Lord attacked. He stomped his foot, and the entire void trembled. He threw out a punch, and the golden fist print exuded an invincible aura. It instantly smashed a few true dragons, and it soared into the sky and charged toward Ling Xiao. Clang! A blazing sword radiance was unsheathed, and behind the spiritual elder, it seemed as if a peerless ancient sword had been unsheathed, exuding an unparalleled aura of sharpness. It soared across the sky and slashed toward Ling Xiao. The spiritual elder's eyes were indifferent, and his body was incomparably fierce. He was like a peerless sword god, looking down on the common people and slashing everything with his sword. The Moon Mother slammed her palm lightly, but there was an extremely cold aura spreading out. The dozens of true dragons that were charging toward the Moon Mother were frozen stiff by the extremely cold aura. Rumble. The dozens of true dragons instantly exploded into a rain of light. The 4 divine generals actually broke through Ling Xiao's 10,000 dragons deity-slaying technique in an instant, and they soared into the sky at the same time, charging toward Ling Xiao. From the time Ling Xiao performed the 10,000 dragons deity-slaying technique to the time the 4 divine generals broke through the technique, it was less than half a breath's time. Rumble. The demon overlord was the first to arrive. He slammed his palm out, and the black divine light around him surged. The terrifying palm print was like a huge black hole, swallowing everything. Good timing. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed sharply, and the divine light of the 4 symbols gushed out from his palm. Instantly, heaven and earth trembled, and the divine light of the 4 symbols intertwined, turning into a chaotic palm print that slammed toward the demon overlord. Boom! The 2 palms collided, and heaven and earth shook violently. The terrifying divine light swept in all directions, and a star in the distance actually exploded. Ling Xiao and the demon overlord both trembled at the same time, and they retreated a few steps. Behind Ling Xiao, a cold sense of danger spread out. It was the Moon Mother's hand. It looked slender and sparkling, but it contained a chill that was enough to freeze people. At the same time, the spiritual elder held his sword, and the Buddha Lord formed a fist print. They charged toward Ling Xiao from the left and right. The sword chi swept across the universe, and the fist print was invincible. A terrifying murderous intent exploded, and Ling Xiao instantly fell into an extremely dangerous situation. Chapter 841. The 4 divine generals under the Scarlet Dragon War God were peerless experts who had surpassed the titled Supremes. Even though they were in the same realm as Ling Xiao, their combat strength was incomparably terrifying. Any one of them could compete with the most monstrous peerless geniuses in the world, not to mention the 4 of them working together. That kind of terrifying power, perhaps even a Supremes would be torn to pieces in an instant. Kill! Ling Xiao roared. There was no fear in his eyes. Instead, it was filled with monstrous battle intent. Invisible divine light spread out from his body, instantly piercing through the heavens and earth, turning into a vast 5 elements boundary, enveloping the 4 divine generals. The 5 elements divine light sealed everything, as if all the laws and energy were isolated. This was the 5 elements heaven sealing style. In the hands of Ling Xiao, it began to erupt with power that was not weaker than a Supreme's. Rumble. Ling Xiao punched out. The fist print was unparalleled. Behind him, the 6 paths of reincarnation rose. This fist was extremely bright, instantly colliding with the Moon Mother. The Moon Mother cultivated the divine path of moon. The extreme cold power in her palm seemed to be able to freeze everything. However, Ling Xiao's fist print spewed out sky-devouring fire, causing the vault of heaven to tremble. In an instant, the extreme cold power was melted, and then the Moon Mother was sent flying with a punch. Clang! A bright sword light, like a long river across the starry sky, actually made the stars in the distance pale in comparison. The spiritual senior's eyes were indifferent. Sword intent rose around him. A sword came from the east, and the sword chi spread out for 90,000 miles. The terrifying sword light locked on to Ling Xiao. The Buddha Lord held the invincible fist print, like a Buddha sitting cross-legged in the void, exuding millions of Buddhist light. His fist swept across the sky, like a sun smashing towards Ling Xiao. A sharp glint flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes, and the stars in the sky began to tremble. He exuded an incomparably terrifying aura, and endless starlight gathered towards him, finally condensing into 7 dazzling supreme stars above his head. Every single supreme star contained an ancient symbol. Then, with a loud boom, they exploded. 7 stars heaven-shattering style. The void was broken, and the endless turbulence of the void seemed to drown the spiritual venerable and the Buddha Lord. However, the spiritual elder's sword seemed to contain an eternal power. It pierced through the void, locked onto Ling Xiao, and stabbed towards his forehead. His speed was extremely fast. Clang! A sharp light flashed in Ling Xiao's eyes. A palm blade fell, and a terrifying blade light instantly chopped at the spiritual elder's sword. Instantly, the sword light that filled the sky shattered. Many tiny sword chi exploded and shot towards Ling Xiao's pores at the same time, as if wanting to cut him into pieces. At the same time, Buddha Lord's fist exploded behind Ling Xiao, giving him no chance to dodge. Rumble. There was a huge explosion in the void, and the surrounding stars were all shattered, setting off a divine light storm. Clang. The sound of a huge bell rang out, ancient and powerful as the King Heaven Devourer cauldron appeared around Ling Xiao, shining with five-colored light as it devoured everything in its path. Shockingly, the terrifying attacks of the spiritual paragon and the Buddhist Lord were devoured by the Heaven Devourer cauldron. Whiz! The King Heaven Devourer cauldron spun around Ling Xiao with incredible speed, devouring the attacks of the two god generals. At the same time, a terrifying power surged out from it. Ha ha ha! Take a hit from me too. Myriad dragons god slaughtering art. 100 dragons descend. Ling Xiao laughed loudly, his eyes shining with dazzling light. He unleashed a fist strike, and a terrifying fist imprint shot through the air, growing to a size of 30,000 meters, like a boundless world of primal chaos. Roar! Over 100 true dragons appeared, rumbling as they bore down on the four god generals. Before, Ling Xiao's limit had been 81 true dragons. But after the King Heaven Devourer cauldron devoured the power of the spiritual paragon and the Buddhist Lord, he was able to unleash heaven-shaking, earth-shattering power with the myriad dragons god-slaughtering art. What incredible enlightenment! Just in time. The demon saint's eyes glowed as he exclaimed in admiration. Not even the demon sage could ever have guessed that Ling Xiao's enlightenment would be this strong. His enlightenment of the heaven-devouring secret art was quickly digested, and in the middle of this battle, it was becoming his most powerful weapon. Ryuumble. The four divine generals unleashed all of their power at the same time, charging towards the 100 true dragons, unleashing a peerless attack. Although the myriad dragon god-slaying art was powerful, especially the hundreds of true dragons, they had the power to destroy the heaven and earth. Each true dragon was comparable to the attack of a supreme being. This move was the joint attack of hundreds of supreme beings, but it was still broken by the four divine generals in the end. The demon sage's heaven-devouring secret art, the spiritual paragon's Tao of the sword, the spiritual paragon's Tao of the sword, the Buddhist seal of the Buddhist Lord, and the Moon Mother's divine Tao of the Great Yin were all very threatening to Ling Xiao. As far as Ling Xiao was concerned, each of the four god generals had the battle prowess of a nine-severing genius. In other words, although the four god generals were only half paragons in the tribulation of three mammoths, they had the battle prowess of an 8th-level paragon. In the war god continent, the only nine-severing genius in the last million years was the sword devil, Duguchilbai. But the four god generals were all nine-severing geniuses. Although Ling Xiao also possessed the combat power of a nine marvels genius, he quickly fell into a disadvantageous position under the siege of the four great divine generals. Rumble. Heaven and earth trembled. In the boundless galaxy, Ling Xiao and the four god generals were like five bright stars colliding. Every strike would cause the galaxy to explode and the sky to shatter. Ling Xiao was caught in a tough battle. Although the demon sage was the leader of the four god generals, Ling Xiao's understanding of the heaven-devouring secret art caught up with the demon sage in a life-and-death battle. The Buddha Lord's physical body was unparalleled, but Ling Xiao's true dragon body was no weaker than the Buddha Lord's. It was even stronger than the Buddha Lord's indestructible Vajra divine technique. The Moon Mother's divine Tao of the Great Yin could be easily neutralized by Ling Xiao. But the spiritual paragon's Tao of the sword was even more terrifying than Jin Sei's in Ling Xiao's previous life. The sword intent was like the sword of the heavens, containing the power to shatter everything. This was a pure sword cultivator, just like the sword devil, Duguchilbai. It actually posed a great threat to Ling Xiao's true dragon body. Therefore, after a few dozen strikes, there were several sword marks on Ling Xiao's body. They were all left by the spiritual paragon. However, Ling Xiao had already held on for more than a dozen breaths under the siege of the four god generals. Moreover, In such a life-and-death battle, Ling Zhao's understanding of the heaven-devouring secret art, the ancestral dragon secret art, the true phoenix secret art, and the teleportation secret art improved by leaps and bounds. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.